you'll reawaken your mind. Oh, come with me, come to know and find out what is true. And you know what's in store just for you. No more living the lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening mine. Come to know and find out what is true, yeah. Then you know what's in store just for you. No more living the lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening mine.
Happy Holy Day, Moors, and welcome to House of Reawakening Minds. House of Reawakening Minds exists to provide for exploration and practice of spirituality in an enlightened community dedicated to honoring the myriad of sacred pathways to the universal creator. We are a holistic center for spiritual grounding, free thought, self-discovery, and Moorish science, an awakening experience for all ages. Tonight, once again, we are proud to present our National Grand Chief, Taj Tariq Bey.
Islam. We're going to go. I actually had a class set up on my computer, but won't boot up. It doesn't necessarily surprise me at this moment, anyway, in time, because of the effect that we're having around the world. Because remember this, and everybody must remember this: anything that has a chip in it or a motherboard can be hacked and burned. So keep that in mind. They're designed that way. All right. And what's going on the planet now is that people are looking at European colonialization being countered on many fronts. It's not just here in North America, but around the world. And some of the problems that you see politically taking place here in North America is actually reflected around the world. Although North America has been pretty much, in many ways, more sleek to the real politics of the world, although a lot of the miseries on the planet against the people have been launched from North America and are being launched from North America. It must be understood that most of the people here are more asleep than they are around the world. However, some of the realities of feedback are starting to hit the North. People are feeling, but they don't necessarily kind of understand what's going on. They got an idea that a lot of things are wrong, but specifically not necessarily having a clear understanding of what's going on. I was talking to Dr. Naila earlier. We were talking about feedback loop, and I would like you to interject, and we can come back on that. But one of the things I want to deal with, and I want you to take notes on, because it's very important to understand the feedback loop. And also to put somewhat of a timeline on it. Somewhat of a timeline. Because people have a tendency when they look at things is not to put a timeline on it. It's very important to put a timeline on it so that your concepts will be clearer. And understand, and this is another thing, a lot of the things that are taking place at North America and around the world, and a lot of the principles that are being presented to the people to stand on, i.e. to take a position, what you would call a de jure position, distinguished from the de facto operations that have been operating. What's going on is that the de facto operators have been in their operations of subverting constitutions and treaties, have been calling the organic constitution de facto. In other words, they're doing what you call projection. And also impersonation. I.e. attacking the victim as the terrorist, when actually they are the terrorists, all right? And knowing that most of the people have been under the spell for so many generations, the Europeans have pretty much controlled the narrative. And so one of the things that we want to talk about, and we'll talk about multiple things, one of the things I had prepared was actually a multi-tiered level thing dealing with both medicine, well, more than medicine, the politics, the economics, money, and multiple subcategories. But of course, I think they burnt my computer. Anyway, but that doesn't stop this. You know. One of the things I want to talk, and you bring this up too, Dr. Nayo, as the conversation we were having earlier about the feedback loop, because she was saying, well, what's that mean? You know, and I'll explain that. So, now this is at North America. Now, most of you are already familiar with those 3 stars represent that you see at Washington, D.C. You know, the Vatican, Fleet Street, you know, District of London, Westminster, and of course, Washington, District of the Roman Goddess Columbia. That's why they call it D.C. That's the district named for the Roman Goddess Columbia. And so for the Roman Goddess Columbia, that's a seat set for her, crowned in a star between Virgin Mary, right? So Virgin Mary is actually Virginia and Maryland. So they make it sit on both sides and they name it Alexandria, for Alexander the Great. So even in the architecture, they're actually telling you a story. You get the point? So Washington, District of Columbia. In the District of Columbia. And most people don't pay attention, you know, because they just look at these things as symbolic, etc. And so they'll have the Roman goddess, because it's still acknowledging the patriarchal nature of government. Are we clear? Are we clear? The matriarchy, nature of government, etc. But actually it symbolizes that Rome is ruling here in the North Gate. And it must be understood that Shakamatsu, also known as Philadelphia, also mentioned in the book of Revelation in the Bible, and Septuaginta, is still the Capitolium at the North Gate. That must be understood. People who don't understand the politics here think that Washington, District of the Roman Goddess Columbia, is the capital for the United States Republic organic agreement to set forth peace between the Muslims and the Constantinians who have been operating under the tag Christians. So the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the Barbary treaties, the Treaty of Campone, and all of the other treaties made between the Moorish Empire and the Romans, i.e. the Europeans or Albions, etc. So when we're talking about the Europeans, we're not talking about the Aboriginal Moors, who are the Picts, the Mores, and the Doves, who are the original Europeans, are we clear? Distinguished from the hybrid Europeans, who are Albion, are we clear? So loosely, when we refer to Europeans, people usually think of the pale-skinned Albion hybrid Europeans. They are modern-day hybrids and are technically not even Europeans. Are we clear? But the name was allowed them under Queen Europa, who was actually a Moabitess. Are we clear? Islam. Now, must be understood and comprehended. We were talking about a feedback loop. Islam, give you all a minute to sit down and get chilled in. And as you would please, you know, just interject, because we're going to feed back and forth. So when you feel the questions come up, don't hesitate to ask questions, but please take notes. And whenever you ask the question, wait for the mic so it can go on the board. Is that clear? Now, the Europeans, or the Albions, also referred to as Occidentals on the planet. So when you hear the terms Aboriginal, Indigenous, Oriental, right, type like that, those are referring to the people of the land of Earth, i.e. the human original peoples on the planet. When you hear the term in international communications Occidental, it strictly refers to the Germanic tribes. All European hybrid Albion strain or Frankenstein strain are Germanic. Are we clear? And they're Occidental. The problems that we've had over the centuries with the hybrids is the unfortunate situation of them, many of them. Can you close that front door, please? Many of them, by virtue of some of the strains of the hybriding, are what you call cannibalistic. And it's been pretty much hidden for the most part from most humans, you know. So when they hear and know of thousands of children always being missing every year, and I think it's roughly about 42,000 or more, or is it 142,000 in North America that are missing every year? I think it's about averaging around 142,000. Most people aren't aware that this information of pedivore, because they're pedivores. You know, people talk about pedophilia a lot, but you need to understand that many Europeans are pedivores. And to update you on the feedback loop of the Spanish Inquisition, you will see as of late them kind of coming out a little bit because they've been selling the baby's organs. And so a lot of what you would call military operations of the world order or the health order of the world, they're selling babies parts. And so a lot of wealthy people are buying them to extend their lives. We're not going to get into what they've been calling secretly spirit cooking and things, because that's not the subject matter. Including them wearing apparatuses where young babies' bloods are being pumped into them to extend their lives, etc. But the deal of it is, and in order to, I want to interject this. Knowing that the people are beginning to find out some of the real history, the human history, and that it's not necessarily beautiful, and a lot of the problems that are really on the planet is not just the wars, and a lot of problems that have taken place because they wanted to keep this information suppressed, and the way things are going on, it can't be suppressed too much longer. So in order to kind of move some of their karmic debt, what they've been doing is through all of these big burger joints, they've actually been feeding back the people, back the children. And this is to contaminate you. So that as this stuff really blows out, they're going to say, well, you've been eating your own babies. This is one of the reasons why you've been dumbing down, so don't blame us type thing. It's sort of like, you know, Satan is saying, you know, I just called, you followed type thing. And what they're saying, what they're going, I'm telling you ahead what they're going to be saying. They're, you know, because people are going to be talking about, well, you all dumbed this down, and well, you followed. You know, so they need new gods and devils. And so this is why they're already preparing the world, you know, as they're being exposed, they're already preparing the world with, you know, the shapeshifters, the grays, the different levels of the grays, the lizards, the reptilians, you know, to blame them. They're the gods that made them do what they did, so you don't pay attention to them. You know, he's the one riding your bike when he's telling you, well, Santa Claus's cousin took your bike. Oh, you did? Well, let's talk about Santa Claus's cousin. Where he lived? On the flat earth over there. You know, so all of these different paradigms are distractions. You know, now all of a sudden everybody's scared to travel because they're going to fall off the edge of the earth, you know. So new arguments of old things are being made that are really distractions. Are we clear? Then you have, and don't get this twisted, you have many of them among themselves are exercising their unum sanctum civil war and proxy wars around the planet as their paradigm is dismembering. Now you can look at it, you can look at the Aquarian lights, you know, as a reality. You know, as Aquarian lights come in, you know, certain things of the Pisces paradigm can no longer, you know, be viable under the energy.
Islam.
And that's just simply a cosmological fact. So whereas they've been able to control the narrative via controlling all the press and burning up everyone else's press, right? And then setting puppets in 90% of all the governments in the world, most of the leaders around the world, in all of these nation states, both Europeans and Asiatics, etc., are not really representative of the people of the land. They're representative of the Inquisition operations and controlled by the two crowns. So keep that in mind, the two crowns. And I think one of the things that, and we mentioned this before, but I think it's very important because you're going to do a little research on your own to renew your memory. Because so much emphasis is put on the Queen of England that people keep forgetting about the crown on Fleet Street, which is the bankers and the attorneys. Now, we already know that the attorneys are called attorneys and esquires. They're attorneys. And let's make this very clear so that you can understand the politics that's going on today and understand some of the dynamics that Donald Trump is going through.
Teach.
Now, Donald Trump is not, for some who really understand the politics, they're starting to look at him as an interjection savior for humanity, in a sense. Whew. If you get the point. He's a nice temper. And as a reminder for you all, so you can do some research aside from what we're talking about tonight, he's a Knights Templar, so do research on the problems between the Knights Templars and the Popes of Rome, and understand where some of those bridges that were burnt are problematic with them right now. All right? We won't get into that, but that's to give you some little bit of insight so that some of the things that we say that we may not give you a lot of background on, you'll understand why certain things we talk about. And you'll understand why certain people who have this knowledge don't talk at all. And then others who have been responsible to have told you these things a long time ago will attack us for telling you because it will show that they have been miscreant on their own. Although we're not necessarily particularly attacking them, the exposure of this information also exposes them as having been compromised. And so they will attack us as if we're their enemy when we're not really their enemy. Are we clear? And so you will see a lot of this going on now because this thing is unraveling. You know, the yarn is unraveling, and they're starting to find out that the yarn was just the surface of this thing. And it gets uglier and uglier as it unwinds. And then it's going to get to the point that many people who have limited understanding may crack under this information. Yes. It gets that ugly.
Yes.
You know. And so as the people are waking up, and you have more and more youth that are coming into this information that are not as compromised as the elders before them, are more intolerant of the idol god systems that have been perpetrated against them in the name of divinity. Not in divinity, in the name of divinity. And are discovering for themselves that they have not been given religion, that they've been given dogmata. Discovering for themselves that they have not been given jurisprudence and the rules that govern positive law, but have indeed been governed under a color of law, under a color of authority, and under color of offices. And that all this time, they thought they were getting paid, and they were not getting paid they were given private commercial paper script, not just fiat. You must understand this idea of fiat is not exactly what people have been thinking it is.
Islam.
It's private commercial paper designed as a feedback loop to satisfy the original intent of the Spanish Inquisition, that for the most part they've been disconnected from. Are we clear? Now, some people who begin to find out some of these dynamics start talking about, the gold and the silver coin, the abrogation of the Organic Constitution, Article 1, Section 10.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve of 1913 as a countermeasure to Noble Drew Ali, who set up the old Canaanite Temple in 1913, and the conversion by the Wilson administration on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia to sell the corporation shell that was erected since 1861 when Lincoln bankrupted the United States Corporation, which was registered in France and later moved to Guam, the Philippines, and Puerto Rico, where its headquarters are right now. And then they have a tributary headquarters right here in Delaware, right up the street. Are we clear? And this is why Delaware is referred to as the first state, what they're talking about, the first state converted from the estate of the Moors. Are we clear? And this is why George Washington, the ninth praetor, so praetor, P-R-E-A-T-O-R. Presidents are praetors. All right? And of the United States Corporation, which belongs to the Jesuit order, and the Knights of Malta, which is an army belonging to the popes of Rome under the Spanish Inquisition to enforce the Trinity Star of that Inquisition via the Queen of England, and half her sovereign right was transferred to the attorneys, who you think are attorneys and esquires, and the bankers, who are really street soldiers for Rome in ties. Are we clear?
Yeah, we clear.
For those of you who know of some of the certifications registered in the Library of Congress, copyright AA 222141,
Yes, sir.
with CMA, and why a lot of persons who claim to be Grand Chiefs of the Moorish Science Temple of America don't like him too much and get upset when you bring up his name. Because that enforces the treaties and the Constitution, the original Constitution from all of these things which come from Muslim law, which Obama mentioned when he went to Hikupta, which is the capital dominion of the Moroccan Empire, i.e. Egypt. And then Michelle wears a red dress deliberately and goes to the Alhambra. The fallen gates. All of these are signals. Now the issue before us, how many of you know about the original Article Amendment 13 for the Organic Constitution with its 20 sections? They call it 3020. Yeah, 1320, pardon me. All right, and how many of you are aware of the nobility clause and why attorneys, esquires cannot by law hold office in the United States, the Republic? And then how many of you understand why most of your oligarchs who have been disguising themselves as congressmen and senators, they're really private oligarchs, they set up a kingship oligarchy after they overthrew the Lincoln administration. That was the last legitimate, and get this through your head, is very important. Abraham Lincoln's administration, not in defense of Lincoln, but just this is your facts. The Abraham Lincoln administration at the North Gate, North America, was the last lawful administration of government operating on the land under Constitution and treaty at North America. After Abraham Lincoln, there is no lawful praetors operating lawfully on the North Gate lands. Are we clear? As people begin to wake up to this stuff, some of this stuff, they'll start talking most currently about the Skull and Bones member, Knights of Columbus member that they know as Franklin Delano Roosevelt of 1933. And we'll make reference to House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session June the 5th of 1933, and the backing up of the broke United States corporation that was crushed again. And this is particularly after Noble Drawley registered the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which is also known as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, as a civic organization in 1925. So that crashed their corporation again, and so they registered another United States corporation shell in Florida and New York. Most of you are aware of those papers, which I also had on the computer, so they ain't letting that come up. Anyway, and I've given it to most of you who have been around for a minute. And of course, I'm going to give you an article. I'll get back with you to put in the paper. Or right around it, because they keep trying to block stuff. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And so they've been upping their trolls and upping their work and attacking a lot of Moors who have been getting work done to try to stop this thing, because this thing is blowing out to space.
It is.
Point. And most of you who know and who are aware know that we have a fan club in China, fan club in Japan, fan club in Saudi Arabia, fan club in Ecuador, Honduras, Borican, etc. And the people are getting active around the world and also sending messages of support, although many of them surprised that it took you all so long to wake up. Because the keys to the liberation of a lot of people on this planet begins with where this thing fell, and that's here. Are we clear? Even though the people are mentally disconnected, they don't know the importance of their awakening. The world is waking up. However, the firstborn, or the most direct descendants of the ancient old Amexem, or what they call Olmec, right here, but they have suffered this idea that human beings are crayons and are totally disconnected from their estate mentally, and their land, and their role in history. And the role of the European Albions who are operating, pretending to be Americans, and have been getting away with it for some time now. And doing things around the world in their name. In our name, are we clear? And they've contaminated the whole planet. Now because, I'll get with you in a minute, I ain't gonna forget you. Put your skates on. You know, and it's really serious because a lot of times, and I understand, you know, with the human dynamics, see, we're creatures of habit. And as we were talking earlier, Dr. Naila, the same way the Europeans had become comfortable under the Inquisition hegemony that the masses, through training, have been calling white supremacy. That's the Inquisition hegemony. Please write that down. And so when everybody starts bringing up this white supremacy to you, you say the Inquisition hegemony, and the conversation will usually stop because they know that you know what's really up. But if you fall into that conversation, they know they're controlling the narrative. Are we clear? Are we clear? All right, yeah. Now, so the deal of it is, you want to start understanding what's really going on and start structuring your language and your conversations accordingly. Because your consciousness has much to do with dismantling this thing. Because remember, this moral and ethical anomaly that humanity is dealing with today, dealing with the destruction of their economics, their security, etc., has more to do with the moral and spiritual aberration that's operating on another plane, which is another subject matter, but these things are all connected. Are we clear? Islam.
Thank you for the brother for acquiescing to this statement. In mentioning, in going of the hegemony, just so happened yesterday, and I told you today that I listen a lot to some of the people like Rush Limbaugh and all those guys, simply because I want to know what they're talking about. And I was listening to something last night on their talk radio show, and they actually mentioned the hegemon. Had I not learned about the Inquisition hegemony from you, that would have gone over my head. But on the radio last night, they referred to something going themselves, or their so-called de facto, as the hegemon. And I knew instinctively, because of what you taught, that it had to do with the Inquisition hegemony, whatever you say. I heard it from you first. I wouldn't have known what that was, and I wonder how many people actually would know what that was, because we hadn't been given that terminology.
Remember this. Hold the mic so you can respond. Like, say, for instance, if you're dealing with, say if a European was sitting here and he's a grand dragon or a ghoul of Kaikos, which the masses know as Ku Klux Klan, right? And we're having a conversation. Remember, our conversation for the most part would not be necessarily hostile. If the people are around, they may act hostile to divert people's attention. But if people ain't around, they talk to me like a man. And I'm going to talk to him like a man. You understand what I'm saying to you? There's no need to hide the truth because he already know I know the chessboard. They only play games with people who have the mentality of boys and girls, who they refer to as Negro, blacks, and coloreds, and whatever they want to be this week. And then it'll be something else next week. And whatever new God they found that Rome gave them, because they always have a new salvation when the other one don't work. And this is a control mechanism that they've been calling divinity, which is really a control mechanism. But anyway, our conversation will be totally different. And I'll get back to that Kaikos member in a minute.
Real quick, hegemony, Hegemony, leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over another. It's dominance, it's supremacy, it's predominance of a social group over another. And what I was going to ask earlier when you presented I was going to ask you just to go a few minutes on the, casually we make the comment about where, quote, civilization started, or it all starting here, and here being Morocco, or here being the North Gate.
Truth of civilization
versus the common folk as we are misguided or presented in our schools, Egypt, Africa, Kibbalan, where the pyramids are over there. Can you just speak to the start being on this side?
All right, here we have it. What you call Grand Canyon and what you call Yucatan, that's your center of civilization.
Islam.
They'll send the people who don't know the real history to what they're calling Egypt, and that ain't Egypt. It's Kuta. All right? Now, the deal of it is they're controlling the narrative. Are we clear? We've got pyramids on this side that are older than the pyramids of Giza, including the world's largest pyramid, which was at Mexico City, the Great Pyramid of the Sun. So big, they literally built cities with the stones that the Christians dismantled. And of course, they take, well, it's not that they did, but you already know that Aunt Hagar's grave is in Mecca, in the Kaaba. Aunt Hagar is in one corner, and a meteorite is in the other corner. That meteorite is to remind you that all of us are not from this planet.
Islam.
That's number one.
Islam.
And that that stone and all of them stones in the Kaaba are not all from this planet. And it's a noble point. But Aunt Hagar ruled in the Yucatan, not on that side. But you got to remember, these things also, in the history before the great earthquake of the cocoa plates.
Sure.
So people don't know when they're standing at Tunis, Algiers, and Morocco on South Asia, that they call now Kemet, Tamari, Africa. That's South Asia, Asia soil. And the exact soil, pick up some soil at Morocco and Tunis. hold it in your hand, and go to the land of flowers and put it there, the same soil.
Florida.
Or what you call the fountain of youth, Florida, land of flowers. Because it was right there before the great earthquake. Now, Tennessee, Alabama,
Come on, teach, Todd.
etc., that whole area is Lower Equipta, or what they call Lower Egypt.
Islam.
Mississippi is the Nile, Red River.
Yes, sir.
Those Great Lakes where the
Man-made.
ancient Moabites used to meditate are made with atomic power. They're not natural. They were made
Yes, sir.
to feed the Western Hemisphere fresh water.
Teach.
And at times of the movement of the moon and Venus, that river will reverse and go the other way. And this is why we did mounds on each side, because we never interfere with the natural course of the Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
You know, so people need to understand, and North America and we are not engines. You know, and this, the other thing that when we went to the thing, you know, some of the Border brothers who were, at the Masonic Lodge, you know, when, you know, they took us outside to talk.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to make some communications.
Everybody can.
And the one of the Border King brothers, you know, got some degrees on his pocket. You know, was getting a little bit of history about Border King. You know, so I told him, you know, with the Taino and the Arawak are the first of the Moorish tribes that the European called Indian, because they were trying to take over the trade routes of the Moors, which is why they keep making them cartoons about Madagascar.
That's right.
And they have little animals with the feathers on, because they're trying to take over the spice routes and the trade routes of Sinde. Sinde is the name of what you call India now. The Moors named it a little over 2,000 years ago from the Mauryan, so write it down, Mauryan, Nanda, Gupta dynasties. So when you can see some of these Hindustanis at these gas stations and other places, and people run around talking about them Indians here and everything, they looking at you like you're at the lunch because you don't even know your own damn history. And they ain't Indians either. You know, and if you start talking about the Mauryan dynasty, they'll tell you a little bit of your history. You know, but you start that Negro black stuff and think because they claimed Islam and to be Hebrews and stuff like that, they looking at you laughing. That don't take you out of that European jurisdiction. Our concepts about a lot of things are wrong.
That's right.
The issue is a lot of people amongst you know this information and knew it all the time. But for a few pieces of slugs, they don't even give them silver anymore. They done sold you out. They're called conversos. Write that down so you can remind yourself when you see these trolls jump up as this information comes up. See, because this is the other thing too. When you get some of this information and you go on your own and try to prove it wrong, it will make you a scholar. And you'll start recognizing a lot of people that you've trusted in a lot of organizations that sold you out. And that they can't dispute this information. And another thing you'll find out is you'll start putting things together, remove your emotions, and start putting the timelines on things so you can understand why Noble Drawley did what he did. And you'll know why he's called prophet. Not because somebody likes him or supports him. Has nothing to do with any of that. Has to do with simply the facts that will pour out in your face. And you'll also understand the politics, and you'll also understand the attitudes that people have, and the lack of attitudes that others have. And why all of a sudden, everybody's upset that these people are finding out that they're Moors. Or they try to minimize the conversation or act, oh, that's a belief. And start talking like that because they're caught. Because a lot of people then had straws in your neck, sucking right along with this European. And they didn't think you'd ever figure this stuff out. Because they had this stuff so locked down, they controlled the narrative so well. You know, including people painting their beards and a whole bunch of other stuff, thinking that they got this thing locked down. Well, they're going to have to be retaught too. Tough cookies, get over it. Now, and it's not that we're mad at anyone, you know, because we're as responsible for our fall as the Europeans are. You know, we're not innocent in our fall. However, the time for the karmic debt payoff is over, that's all. Get over yourself and learn. But the other deal of it is it's time for us to really take our places amongst the affairs of men, because the corruption is so deep that it's going to destroy civilization if we don't take a position. And you don't have a lot of time to play, come out of the box perfected. You've got to start, even if, like I say, you kind of stumbling a little bit, you got to get on, you got to start stepping up and reaching for that mountaintop. I know, some of us ain't totally where we need to be, but guess what? If you stand still, you're food. Get over it, get over your ego, get over your biases, get over your beliefs, because all of that stuff is going to die. And it's not personal to anyone, or whatever their positions may be. What they thought was religion will die in order to save humanity. It must die. Are we clear? Wow. Give it a mic. You got serious work going on.
I know. I'm upgrading.
Oh,
Yes, Mom.
upgrade.
You talked about the variations and people who not understand what the prophet had put in place. And as I've been studying with Mother Delilah Passett, she is a wonderful teacher, and she helped me to understand the difference between the K and the Q of the variations in the Quran.
Yes.
And how the prophet set up the Quran and it has this Kodak inscription in there to where it has a meaning. Where the K is for knowledge, the O is for order, the R is for rhythm, the O is the A is for astronomy, and the N is for nature. So to look at that, just looking at the cover itself and seeing what the prophet set up, it sets yourself, it has really set apart to not get caught up in the dogmatic of religion and to go within and learn thyself.
Yes. Now, this is the deal. What is it that, like say for instance, if we come back to this, right? If a ghoul, that's a name, that's a member of any of what you call white camellia, Kaiklos, Ku Klux Klan, etc., members of the Circle, etc., of the Europeans. All right, so they're all ghouls. All right, that would be dealing with the lower polar force of the Earth, of the hybrids. This includes some of the DNA from some of our visitors, which is why Yaqub was called the father of the devil, because we discovered that many of them are carnivores, and they've been eating our babies. And then once they got in power, one of the things that they've been doing going to and fro the earth, devouring nations. And so the people who know the truth don't want to talk the truth because they're sending dragons after them. Right. Do you understand? Although those who know the truth have been taken to the mountaintop. And then they've seen the land of the Moors that the Romans have taken over, and then they take oaths to the popes of Rome not to reveal the secrets, and they give them all kinds of women, drugs, and reverendship, and then they send them out there to mislead the people in the name of leading them, always under the 14th Amendment. Always and only under the 14th Amendment. Negro Acts convince them to be Negroes or people of color, U.S. citizens, not knowing it's a stock option, all this kind of stuff. And so the people are, a few people, you read that. Yeah. It's revealing, isn't it? Of just basic civics, isn't it? Oh, yeah. And you can see that they're contrary to it, aren't they? Oh, yes. And pretending they don't know.
Well rehearsed.
Pretending that they don't know. Now, and now you can see why these fundamentals that a child should know, that these people, that government should be kept in check with that. Right. And then you see why certain people who wear turbans and fezzes have been telling people contrary to the truth that Noble Ali never promoted or taught civics. Although the Moorish Holy Temple of Science was registered as a civic organization. You know, so I mean, all of these dynamics deal with, because one of the major conversations, again, like I was talking to Dr. Naila, is the feedback loop, and people don't understand the feedback loop. And I want to reinforce this with you all so that you can have a comprehension to yourself of the work that you have to do, not what we have to do, but what you have to do with yourself and with your families. Are we clear? Including when you go to these big time churches, mosques, and synagogues and stuff, and you see that badge on the back of their cars in this special parking area.
Right.
And you'll see this round badge with a sphinx head and a Moorish sword, two-edged sword just above the sphinx head. That symbolizes the subjugation of the Moabites. So when they subjugate the mother, they got us. I don't care how much muscles we got or ain't got. Because she's the Stargate. Are we clear? This is why they have Washington, D.C. for the Colombian goddess. So she symbolizes the substitute of the Moabites. So Masonry for the Europeans, they got a substitute password. Are we clear? And they themselves are a substitute. But they preoccupy also themselves with calling the so-called Negroite black Masons clandestine. Now the basis of that, and we talked about this that night.
Yes.
Oh yes. Yes. The reason why they call so-called black and Negro Masons clandestine, because one of the first lessons they get is of Ruth the Moabitess. And Ruth, they have a book for her in the Septuaginta. And Ruth was Yeshua's great-great-grandmother. And of course the Romans will never say Yeshua because they hate him. So they had a meeting and changed the names of the records to Jesus or Jesus. Although it comes from Esau or Isa, you know, etc., or the sun that's in the sky, to never reveal the truth of the transits of the sun or the traveling of the sun. As in not of Serapis too, which is also a personality they interjected to represent the moral principles of justice that they hung on the cross. And the cross is the Iron Cross of Rome, not so much a tree. You need to really understand what's really going on. So when they hung Jesus on the cross, they hung justice on the cross. Are we clear? All right, and simply took over the world. So the operations through their unum sanctum policy executed via the doctrine of discovery is to claim that the divine order of the Son passed all sovereign authority to the popes of Rome, and so the Pope of Rome becomes the Patah. That's P-T-A-H.
Peter.
And so therefore the authority is claimed by Peter.
Come on with it.
Are we clear? And so therefore the people are submitting to Peter, who is alleged to walk the water. Of course he was drowning. That Yahshua pulled up because he ain't really his boy. So you got to get this out your head. That whole game out your head. And this is the authority under the Inquisition hegemony that's operating on the planet today that's causing all these wars. And the hypothecation of all rights of property and hereditaments. And this is the feedback loop that's operating in the judicial system, that's operating in the monetary system. Are we clear? And in the personam jurisdiction of claiming bodies. This is, again, why the Europeans had no problem doing that Roe versus Wade thing where so they could justify the increasing the food supply and at the same time compromising the people. So that's called the abortion clinics. So that increased their beef stock. So people think beef means the cow meat. No, beef means the residuals from the babies that they steal the organs from, and they steal the spinal cord, the medulla, the pituitary gland, and then they take the organs and they make some of the organs and glands, and they make what you call high-priced cosmetics for European women. And the residuals of the bodies they send to the meat houses, and they mix it with all what you call hamburger. Then they feed it back to the people, and so it also dumbs the people down because the people are getting what you call mad cow disease. So you'll see an increase of strokes with the people, the dumbing down, diabetes, all kind of maladies. And then all of your medical facilities, which are really genetic complexes, military genetic complexes, they can, start controlling the population. They get an increase of the food supply that they feed back to the people, feedback loop. Dumbs the people down, creates more sickness, feedback loop. Then they put what they call Roundup, weed killer, that they designed to murder the people in Vietnam and Laos to steal the pot, the tin, and other things that the Franks did. France. Yes. And that the U.S. corporation took over in the 60s. They started that they'll tell people that the Vietnam War started in the 60s. No, they was in there in the 50s. Because the Vietnamese were kicking the Franks keisters. And so the Queen sent her elite army in, which is the U.S. corporation company, and its operatives who have been pretending to be a country since 1860. And then by the real Americans also calling them the country, that's a sanction. And so they're using the sanction of the people, the true Americans, who are saying, we just different colors. And so they're using the sovereignty of the people who have actually been overthrown to go to and fro the earth, devouring nations. Now, so there's two things that came out of those genetic operations. Is a retrovirus that they was testing on pigs that kills the immune system. And it also comes from the same experiments they were doing with the foliage killers, because many of the Viet Cong were in trees, palm trees, etc. And the Europeans referred to them as sand niggers. And the same thing when they went into the East, they referred to them as sand niggers. And so the napalm and other chemicals that they would spray on the trees would kill the trees. From this, they got their foundation for what is used now in what they call Roundup, which creates cancers. And so they created a whole new industry for reducing the population at North America, so that if you have a family member of 5, guarantee you 3 of them got cancer. Almost guaranteed. Whether they're taken out or not is another issue. Are we clear? Whether it's activated or not, they got cancer. You get it right from the vegetables. See, so they get you right across the table. The other issue is what you would call using the bodies. You already know, for every constellation in this particular solar system, because the makeup of these units that we use require the salts from the energies of all the planets in this particular solar system. And so we'll refer to them as the 12 salts. Are we clear? Phosphates, etc. And your body is made up with that. So you need salts. So what they've done as a war machine is use buffers to take out all the minerals that are necessary to balance off your chemistry, your heartbeat, the rhythm of your heartbeat, etc. And then they give them the actual toxic residuals, which is your white table salt. So the white table salt that people use in everyday order creates diabetes, high blood pressure, etc. And then they feed on the people. And then when they're ready, kill them when they run out of insurance. Are we clear? And then others, they have a backup system, feedback loop system, where they have nursing homes for the elders, so they can drain their estate, then they kill them, and then take the estate. Feedback loop. Are we clear? All of this is feedback. All of this is Spanish Inquisition. So people start thinking about, again, and I didn't finish the conversation I had with my son yesterday, and I talked to him a couple hours. And I talked to my grandson from Atlanta also a couple hours. And I was busy. Most of the time I don't get a chance to do anything because I usually be busy. So I usually put my phone down, but I had a chance to talk to him. And as a reminder, because I'll talk to him again, as a reminder, not things that he doesn't know, but we get caught up in language. You know, because you can't pay any so-called debts. Not under Rome's order. Are we clear? But if you say you pay, you've accepted the obligation that's behind it.
That's right.
Are we clear?
Say that again, Todd.
If you say you pay,
Yeah.
you accept the obligation that's behind it.
Islam.
Because you're disallowed to pay, because you're disallowed to have money. Because the Constantinians came to the North Gate for mainly these specific reasons: to steal our gold, silver, precious jewels, and to make claim of our resources for the Queen of England under the Spanish Inquisition. Are we clear?
Yep.
Which is why the whole mission has been for them to convert all the silver and gold coins into slugs that have absolutely no value, and then have the people think they're getting paid. Because you got to remember this. This is very important. Y'all got this. If y'all want to take pictures, take. Because I wish we had another board. Because I had stuff that I was going to put up here, but we'll do what we got to do. You know what I mean? Because I want to show you a few other things. And if you want to, just come up and take pictures, so you can keep this in mind. Now, when Noble Drawley said to the Moors that the Europeans are living off your virtues, you need to know what he's talking about. And understand, if you choose not to do anything about it, that's on you. Because Rome is going to do what Rome does. You can either start working or helping those work to restore your claim of estate and your right of estate, or you can be passive and don't think that you won't be food, because you are already food. It ain't about what he's going to do, it's about what he's been doing all the time. You waking up to it, don't confuse you waking up to it with, oh, wow, he's starting to do taking sandwiches. Always taking your sandwiches. Their relationship with you is totally parasitic.
Islam.
Totally parasitic.
Oh.
When you forget that, and the art of the politics here at North America is to keep you from recognizing that. Are we clear? The nature of the politics at North America is to keep you from recognizing that their relationship to you is entirely parasitic. Are we clear? From the legislation to the taxation. Entirely parasitic. All right? All of it is colored. This is also why it's necessary for them to call you colored people. And to get you to agree to it, because then that removes the karmic debt from them. Because remember, words cast spells. Yes. And so it's important for them to get you to agree to the spell. You know, like when they have vampire movies, you know, somebody knock on the door, dang, it's like 10 o'clock in the morning and stuff. Who's at the door? And then they say, can I come in? See, the issue is, you know, let them in. See, they ain't come there to get you to let them in. You understand? Oh, you like a cup of tea? Yes. Don't let them in. You let them in, then it's on. You may as well take off your turtleneck, it's over. And this is what it is. You know, so the European does things to deceive people into agreeing to contracts and pacts that they don't know that they're making. But if they can get you to utter the words or to demonstrate a willingness to participate, that's contract. This is why it's important. Yeah. This is why it's important for them to, which they have done, is introduce connotative linguistics in our community. So to take words away from their mother and to give what they would refer to as new meanings, or what would be called in linguistic colored meanings. Are we clear? And so this is where the dead comes in. And so how do you service the dead from the living? See, because the principle of divine in the plane of the physical, for the lessons of humanity, the governance is for the living and not for the dead. So in the principle, the good of the earth is for the living, not the dead. So they'll say it in a code. They'll say, God, I am the God of the living, of Isaac, Yakuhu, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, I am the God of the living and not of the dead. You understand? You need to understand what that's code, but you gotta understand what it really means. Because God only comes from Old High German gut, G-U-T-T, which means good. So when they say God is good, they're saying good is good. God doesn't mean the creator or the source behind the creator. Their operations is to disconnect you from source. Are we clear? In both your consciousness and in your honor. And thus dishonor and dis-ease. Are we clear? You don't understand how this stuff works. So anyway, so the feedback loop is whatever is done via the attorneys, and these will be called your suit and tie Roman soldiers, then your field operators, which would be called the gangs of New York, that you know as policemen, executed by kingship oligarchy set up in 1861, that you know as Congress and the senators, who are really members of the courts of Rome, which you know as the Roman Curia, write that down. And so all legislation and operations coming from them will serve the feedback loop to enforce the Inquisition operation for the popes of Rome. And thus it necessitates pledges of secrecy, and this is where you get your secret treaty of Verona. And this is where you get Article 3 of that operation with the clergy pledging their allegiance to the Pope of Rome. And so the clergy's job is to help deliver you to Rome. That's why they hide behind the name Jesus and say they're delivering the people to Jesus. They're delivering the people to Rome. This stuff isn't like an open secret. But once they got the people to agree to this, the people are as guilty as them. So the people will fold to their hypocrisy, then admit that they are part of the problem. Are we clear? And so they'll pay a tithe to Rome, pretending they're paying a tithe to Jesus. Are we clear? Funding their own enslavement. And then blaming the mystical devil, that whichever version Rome gives them, through their clergy. Are we clear? Feedback loop. Are we clear? Now, as people are waking up, and certain lies can't be denied, what they will do is what you call surface onion thing. The people have figured out, oh, this is not that it's bad, but this ain't orange, this is an onion. There's a joke I can tell you, really. No, it's not really a joke. Let's be honest with this. You ever talk to Dee about the onion, sweet onion thing?
No.
Well, she'll tell you a little later. As a family member, we was out, right? Right? It's not funny. It's funny. So let's look at sweet onions. And there's other stuff that went on, but we'll just talk about this. So, these are sweet onions, right? So she bit the onion, and it wasn't sweet. She was like, no, it wasn't sweet onions. But this is a true story, though. But the deal of it is, so when they peel the first part of the onions, because people And it had more to do with a couple of Europeans, barristers specifically, who find themselves caught in foreclosure. And this was that MERS thing where the Supreme Court declared all MERS contracts as unconstitutional and as frauds.
That's right.
A few years back.
Right.
It's because a couple of Europeans went after them. See, because all this stuff was supposed to be benefiting them, but all the target was really and always was us.
Right.
But as the United States corporation keeps going bankrupt, they're starting to feed their own tail.
Right.
So they're starting to throw their middle class under the bus. And it wasn't supposed to work like that. That's not the plan. Do you understand? And so they're starting to tell, but they're still trying to claim the estate at the same time. But you got to remember, they're not Americans. You get the point? They're Albions, under the authority of Queen Europa. And so they're allowed to use Europe, and they've been given territories by the Druids, by the Moors, the Dubs, and the Picts, who are the true Europeans, i.e. they're Moors. Are we clear? And so in order to kind of remove or lighten their karmic debt thing, they'll expose Moors in their family crests. Because these are the original people of the land, Moors. The Picts and Dubs and the Moors. You know, so they can say, as this thing begins to clash, well, we didn't hide it, y'all wanted to be black. We didn't make you be black, you wanted to be black. Of course, under that title, not the etymology, but under the social engineering, that means death. So they could so they could claim your estate.
That's right.
Because you agreed to be that. You understand? When actually black means pale colors.
That's right.
So you see black color, black power, pale colors. So they moonwalk right on and claim your estate. Then you got all your religious leader guys saying that, so it must be true. But they don't know that most of these are skull and bones 501c3 agreement kickback payoffs, and are really subordinate corporate entities under their corporate entity franchises under the Roman Curia. But they know most of these people don't know government, know how things work, so they say, oh, he's religious. He says Allah and Jesus, and so he's for us and stuff. All right. Guarantee you he got a $3,000 suit on. Not you. You know, see how he say that? Jesus. Oh, you know how he's, wait a minute, repeat that? Jesus. Oh, whoa. And everybody starts crying and stuff, and you can hear it. You don't hear changes at that time, it's just paper. Man, it's going all up and stuff. And they've been getting away with this stuff for years. However, again, as they start waking up to this, so they start blaming Roosevelt. Right? It's the birth certificate. I'm going to authenticate the birth certificate. Because they discover it's a barratry. They don't even know it's a barratry instrument. They just know it's a bank bond. So now they're going to become the executor of these Sister QV trust estates.
Define barratry instrument.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Oh boy, this is interesting. It really is. And of course you got the 12 high priests for the 12 districts divided for the 12 subdivisional operatives of their terms for the 12 districts of the 12 branches of the 12 branches of the Federal Reserve, subordinate members of Malta's and Knights of Columbus collection arm for the Caicos of the Ku Klux Klan for the ghouls, i.e. the vampires, under the Spanish Inquisition feedback loop that give people who don't know how things operate on the planet. And this is a reminder. Some, like Dr. Naila, when I say some things, people hear it, but you have to be redundant because they don't get it.
Yes.
Because until they understand it, their energy field, which means your thought field, doesn't project your energy. That's your protector. Are we clear? You know, like that garment that can't be ripped? It is really your aura, or the energy field that you present from your thoughts, because man is mind. Are we clear? But what I like to do, which most of you know by now, that I try to avoid a lot of metaphysical jargon deliberately, because I try to keep people in the present.
That's right.
Because if you don't solve the issues that are before you, don't talk about what's on the dark side of the moon. Doesn't mean the dark side of the moon don't exist. You know, these people can't get across town without getting profiled and know how to deal with it. Let's get real.
That's right.
So your lessons of the present is to overcome Rome on the planet. Although you will be dealing with different dimensions. Let's not worry about Venus.
Islam.
Be interested in the 19 dials of the clocks that we used to wear. However, most people don't even know the blending of the moon and the sun calendar, which is the Egyptian calendar that you're using now that they think Gregory did. Right. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
Less more knowing that the Bible, the Quran, and the Vedas and other books are cosmological in origin. Are we clear? And that all of your so-called major religions can be traced back to its cosmological root. They're just different versions of the same stories, including the hybriding. That is your problem today. But let's get back to the so-called feedback loop with the money.
All right.
Now, particularly, and we did this before, but to remind you all again, all right? Excuse my scribble drawing, all right? Please. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So any of you that have any old Septuagintas, Bibles, any old Qurans, etc., not the newer ones, the older ones. And all of them, they will have this symbol for the divine. Right? Or what you would call the God principle. Right? As a symbol. All right? And some, when they're talking in metaphysics, they're called the black dot theory. All right? When you're dealing with the governing, and this also is in geometry and in physics, this would be also the symbol of the sun. So those of you who don't know that, look that up so that you can verify. All right? And this would be the symbol for the earth. Are we clear? And this would be the symbol for the moon. Are we clear? Now, as an interim of conversation, this machine, and notice I said machine, but we'll just say satellite, it's a machine. And we won't get into that right now. That's a machine. Keeps balance and regulates the fluid flows on the earth for balance. So, this satellite or machine dances around the earth in a cycle of 13. Are we clear?
Yeah.
This dances around the sun, right, on a cycle of 12. Are we clear? Combined, that's what, y'all?
25.
All right,
7.
right? that juices to 7. Are we clear? So this is where you get your 360 degree or your circle 7, is your understanding the cosmological nature of civilization on this particular sphere. Are we clear? All right, when you do what you call geometric study of the radii and the operations on this sphere, it's called anthropology. So all things that we do on this surface is usually dealing with the politics of the structures of the birth of the beings that pretty much what you call dominate the surface, although they have responsibility of other beings here. Are we clear? We're not talking about the ones that's underneath. We're talking about the surface ones. Are we clear? So, the blood flow and the rhythm of the cycles that feed them, including their mother and the gate, are reflected from this machine that controls the flow of the blood and stuff, etc. Are we clear? The rhythm of the seas.
God.
And thus, but give me the mic.
I'm sorry. The 12 are the stations of the zodiac. The
Of course, that's your positions.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Right. The 13 represents the what? The 13 on the moon doing what?
The moon cycles, the 13 moon cycles.
That's right.
Get in the mic.
There's the moon, wax, wane.
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead. You got it.
Mother, it has more power
Don't
coming
get over
from
there
you.
and work with me.
It has more power coming from you, Doc.
So, hey, I know you got Teflon souls on the seats.
So I just wanted go ahead. The 13 moon cycles. We got the 12.
It's the 13 times that the moon, that's a manifestation period, as the moon goes through its birthing of crescent, waxing, waning, and full moon. So that is the time period. The moon is mother.
So there's a calendar that's built on that. And so you have...
Moon is mother that regulates the women, as Grand Sheik states, regulates the water and the tides. The star will be the sun. So if you place the star with the moon,
And so
that's
it
mother's
is two
son.
things. It's actually 3 things.
Yeah.
So you have the star, and the upper loop touches the top of this universe.
Yes.
And so this is mother and son.
Islam.
Sometimes referred to as Ishtar, Astarte, etc., Isis, etc. Now, Venus and the moon deal with 2 things in relationship to the female body. It deals with fertility and fecundity. This is again why, like up until like maybe the early 1800s, when we still had a little bit of culture concept left, your clocks had 3 dials. It would be the sun, the moon, and Venus. And then you'd also have a barometer. So you'd have like 4 or 5 dials and stuff like that, but people can't read anymore, because they've been dumbed down. So those who've been governing, they've been maintaining most of the stuff or the knowledge of how to run the planet, and they call it masonry, and then keep the masses dumb in dogma that they call religion. While the rulers get the truth, for the most part, in degrees and take death oaths not to awaken the dead, etc. And that's basically roughly how things are run, in general. It's not that refined, but basically, if you want to give a thumbnail sketch, that's how things run on this planet. Are we clear? Give the brother Mike, I want you.
No, just a quick question. How do we come by the 7? The number
I'll
7?
show you in a minute.
Okay.
Because the other thing I want to show you is this, because what we're talking about is money.
Okay.
But and keep me on that, because we're talking about money, currency, and credit. All right? And we're talking feedback loop. But don't lose your thought. Now, your phases of the moon, right? We're dealing with 8, but you're talking about flips. But we're talking about quarters. So essentially, in symbol, these 4 quarters in the cycles of 13 would represent also the effects of your, what you call, the energies of the earth, the water, the fire, i.e., the relationship between this machine, satellite, and the sun, and its eclipse on the earth, and the seasons. So you would have your 4 seasons, what they call 4 seasons or Yahweh, right? Which actually deals with earth, air, fire, water. Are we clear? So we're dealing with balancing. And so you have your 4 seasons. In each one of these seasons, you have 3 cycles of the moon. So they'll call the moon monthlies. This is why they call cycles of women, or 13, call them monthlies, because they're governed by the moon. So you call these the moon cycles, right? So the moon cycles in relationship to the earth, or deal with, right? And your degrees, each one of these are broken down into 30, right? So 3 again. And each one of these are into 10s. 10, 10, 10, right? And so these are called deaconates. Deaconates. Now, in church, they would call this deacon. But never tell the people that it's actually transits of the sun, or the eclipses of the sun, and the equinoxes of the sun that they're measuring in relationship to this earth going behind the spiral or the cone of the sun. This is why you see the cone head. That's what that symbolizes. Are we clear? And then, of course, your fez represents the womb and the universe. And so you will have on the top of your fez, see that? You'll have this, and you'll have 3 sets of holes here. 3 sets of holes here. I'm not trying to count these right, but this is symbolic, y'all. But you can count them yourself. Right? And you will have 9, right? Then 12, then 18. Are we clear? Coming from the center. And then you'll have the finial in the middle. It's also symbolic of your belly button. Then your umbilical cord. Then the ball of mud called earth that rims around here. Then your 360-degree tassel. Although, unless you order it special, they'll just have symbolic strings. But if you order special, they'll give you a tassel with 360 degrees for those who really know what's up, or what that really represents. Are we clear? Now, all right, now, and for those who study this and understand this, so those 3, and so you have the 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. At this point, it's called the master seal. Now, this is called the mundane cross, or the earth cross. And from this, you get your tau cross that they use to measure the equinoxes, eclipses of the sun, also your rudder and sextant by which we use to navigate ships on the seas, dealing with the horizon and the placement of the stars. That would be among these 12 in your seasons. And so they look at the positions of the stars and actually navigate in the middle of the waters that you see no land and know exactly where they are. We've done it for thousands of years. That's how we travel. And then in some courses you can just put sails down and let the water take you. So certain routes that we've always had, that we've traded for years, like one of them, like one, from the old ancient Silk Route, right? You could come from Nippon and go near Philippines, all that kind of stuff, and kind of come right to South America. You can almost like just go to sleep and get out there and let the current take you. Now, the Europeans have been trying to tamper with this stuff forever since he's taken over the trade routes. That's a whole other area of information that's being restored now, which is causing problems for the Europeans now in the economic system that's being dismantled. But back to your point. So you got 3 here, right? Right? And that deals with the 12 constellations, right? And you got 3 here, right? And you got 3 here, right? So now you got, hold on. Your north, south, right? East, and west. And of course, this is where you get your news. And so the priesthood would always do what you call an ephemerides calculation, turning up or down to calculate the energies from the different constellations, and this is how prophecy is done mathematically. Are we clear? You look at your north and your south node doing with a horoscope, which means a look into the sun. That's what it means. Horoscope means look into the sun when your mother brought you here to the gate, and then you're looking at your sun sign, the expression that is this physical, but then you look at the moon to see personality, etc. And then send how you express to the world stuff. And then you start looking not at your own bias of yourself, but what the math says, because the math don't lie. And it's sort of like a map, or something like a blueprint, as you might say. And then you can see who that being really is that has no name. Now, this is the rule, like when you see Drawley talk about how masterminds trace themselves, that's how it's done. See, so what the masters don't, unless they're in the attic chamber, basically, they should be teaching the people, but they don't tell them because they pretty much have followed the Europeans and want to make themselves kings over the people, owning the birthright rather than helping to liberate these people. This is what Drawley talked about when, the great sellout, and why nobody wants to act analyze and tell the people what Earth's law really is. You know about the at the bottom of the questionnaire.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
5, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
760, yeah.
Oh yeah. And still tell the truth, they'll go get a 501c3, serve Rome, and then hide the truth.
Wow.
It's called the great sellout. But people are finding that out too. See, because they're studying. See, so once you study, it becomes the peoples themselves. Then they begin to understand birthright can't be sold or transferred to another. This man saying he's a grand governor trying to say he owns my birthright, that I can't be who I am at birth unless I come to his club, and he ain't been running the club right. And they've been stagnating the prophet's work, but they've been claiming the name. Yeah. But when you look at the record, these people have been compromised. Oh, they made sure they got rid of his press, which he told the Moors was our most powerful weapon. Where is that press? So when you start studying, you start finding out that he had enemies outside and in. However, a birthright is an unalienable right. You can't put a lien on it. And once these people really understand what that is, like Malcolm did, now everybody mad at him because he found out the truth. So rather than help, they murder him. Because when that truth is out, it will overthrow organizations. Because all of them, 90% of them are corrupt. 90% of them are corrupt. That's why a lot of people are really kind of upset and would refer that we don't tell the truth about what's going on here. So they can continually pilfering off the people and produce absolutely nothing for them. and blame the mystical devil for their economic problems and the losses of their houses and the IRS taking their stuff and the gentrification of their communities. The devil did it type thing. Oh, yeah, right. But back to your 7. Now with the studies of these, you have, let me make these noble points more apparent, right? More apparent. Now, so this represents the mundane cross, right? So now, if you do this in the abstract, that means both the physical and the abstract, or what people would call the breath level or the spirit level, right? And so you have the duality of things and the feminine expression of herself through her seed, which are also female eggs, that she may use to propagate the species. So she'll take some of her daughters and make them males, which manifest as us. Us guys, you know, the wiener guys. That's where we come from. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Get over it. Right? So you deal with that aspect, right? And so you deal with, right, that mundane cross, right? So now you deal with the abstract nature of it, right? So you take out, excuse my scribbling. Now that would be your abstract, right? Hold on, excuse me. And so that would be your abstract. And so with your physical symbol of the mastery of the earth, or your mundane cross, which is this, mundane cross, which means earth cross, right? And then, of course, this would be the dancing or the measurement of the eclipse of the sun and the equinoxes of the sun, which would be your timepiece, also your sundial. And so this would be 360 degrees, and we're not talking about the epigee and the apogee at this time. So that would be the oblong rotation, etc., which they would call 365 is still 360. And so that would deal with your geometric perfection of the circle. And of course, the European would call the great circle, in Germanic language, it would be called church, which means the great circle. All right, so church means the circle. They're talking about this. All right? So most people never really been taken to church, so let's get that out the way too. Anyway, so here, now you see this? So this is abstract, right? So they'll take the cross out the middle, and then they'll just put the number 7 in it. Right? Now, so this symbolizes those who have the expert studies of this and become to the recognition that I am that I am. And so then you're not dealing with what you call the dogmatic creed of Islam. You're now dealing with I, self, law, and master. Are we clear? Still Islam, but it's a period, it's an acronym now. All right? Now, so you got 3 here, right? 3 moons, cycles here. So you call them months. And altogether, you'd have 12 months, right? Although there's 13 cycles to the moon. Are we clear? On our calendar, because we use them both, we blend them. Are we clear? Yeah. And so you have 3 here, right? 3 there, 3 there, 3 there, and 4 gates. 3 plus 4 is 7 in that circle. As we get circle 7. Are we clear? That's where you get your 7 from. Also, 7 is the 7 particular major planets that we peopled in this particular solar system, including the communication center called Diauti. Diauti is the proper name for the planet Mercury, which is a communication center. Are we clear?
Also, more fundamentally, to the brother's question, that 7 is the 12 and the 13 equals the 25, and the 2 and the 5 make the 7.
Of course it does. And of course we measure, and this is why Drew Ali says, for those who really don't understand this immediately, he says, Moors measure time by cycle ages. He's telling you directly your culture.
Yeah.
But most people don't get that on the surface. They just repeat it without any science behind it. But Drew Ali set up the Moorish science temple, not the Moorish religious, the Moorish science temple of America. And within the charters, everyone who received them charters supposed to, by charter, establish a school. But of course, because of the treason that infiltrated under J. Edgar Hoover and Calvin Coolidge, they made sure that didn't take place. Though there's a few that have maintained and tried to do what they could do to maintain the integrity. Because there's a lot of good Moors in the temples. Don't get that confused. Don't get confused with many good Moors in the temple with some of the administrators who have been compromised. Don't confuse the two. The temple's right. All right, so a lot of times when we're critiquing, people think we're criticizing. We can't critique. The temple's right. But if you don't recognize when the administrators have become corrupt, you're corrupt with them. That's why the prophet did caveat emptor. And also the additional constitutional bylaws in the back of the questionnaire because of that corruption, but people don't like to go there. If you get the point, but it is what it is. You know, nevertheless, the birthright belongs to the people. You know, and so you deliver the truth to the people, let the people do what like Allah, Brother Allah Il said. Throw the truth up, let the chips fall where they may. You know, but the birthright belongs to the people. It's their birthright. It's not some, you know, gift that some guy owns because he says he's grand sheep or grand sheepess. It's your birthright. Just like it's theirs. They don't own it. And once they breach their honor, they have no jurisdictional authority over you, except if you assign them, if they're honorable, and live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And these principles are known by the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Most of them don't know these principles, so therefore they don't know how to measure things. You understand what I'm saying? But those who know, you know, command that they uphold the law, or they're going to step off, they ain't going to keep on funding them while they're misrepresenting the reality of Islam. This is why Drew Ali also mentioned, you know, in relationship to many Muslims and Muslims around the world, that they want to be retaught because their concepts are wrong. However, because Rome has supported them, they're arrogant right now. They ain't humble, you know, because Rome got their back. If you get the point, while they're pretending these, you know, like separate jurisdictions, Rome, they're really Rome's boys, and most of them are Satanists. You know what I mean? To put it bluntly, you know, while pretending to love Jesus, Allah, Moses, Muhammad. You know, they lynch them on first sight when they walk through the door. That's why they celebrate when they ran him out of Mecca to Medina. So they celebrate running him out. They weren't listening to him. Not really. You're not knocking it, but you understand where I'm coming from. Yeah. Let's get real about this. Now, keep this in mind. So these are quarter moons, right? So that's a quarter. Let me do this like this, a little, right? So that quarter equals a whole, right? Right? Yes. And so that whole equals 100%, right? And because of Venus and the alchemical metal, and this is redundant because we must understand money. Now the sun is the symbol of the sun, right? Symbol of the moon, symbol of Venus. They're alchemy metals, right? Gold, silver, and copper.
Yeah.
So those are the alchemical metals for those particular planets which are at the heart of civilization on this planet. Are we clear? And because the moon governs the ecology on the earth, that means where the fish go, well, you know what you do? You don't go by opinion, you look at an almanac and start looking at the fish flows that are registered mathematically. You look at an almanac and you start looking at the growth patterns for what you call seed food, stem food, leaf food, and fruit food.
That's right.
And you plant based in the different temperate zones of the seasons, the seeds or the ovum of the life forces which are governed by the moon and gestated by the sun. They do most of their growing at night. You say, oh, the sun's out. These plants is really going to get, no, they be growing in the dark. You know, you look at a plant, and the sun's out doing this thing, plant, oh, wow, yes. Cool. You go to bed, you get up in the morning. Damn. That's how it works. Moon do it. It's the moon. People say, oh man, it ain't raining and stuff like that. Well, the moon pulls the water up out of the earth. It is the dew that gives most of their nourishment. See, it's a balance. Right? And so, because the moon has so much to do with the economy, ecology, in fact, not by opinion, including the eggs that move by the 13 cycles to the uterus. This is why the uterus is used as a symbol of government called the Ankh. Because that's government. Now, understanding the 12 salts that are used to build the bodies of Solomon's body, Solomon's temple, which is this. That's Solomon's temple. Without the sound of the hammer, rasping of a saw. Solomon's temple. You can turn that down a little bit. We just had to warm it up in here. Yeah, I can tell it's up because I'm hot with it anyway.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but it was cold and damp in here earlier, so we turned it up just to make sure you all weren't uncomfortable. So by the cycles of the moon, an egg comes from the left or the right fallopian tube, right? And they come up there, and they go, you know, going to resting, leaning up against the side of the you standing at the door, right? And then the currency, or the sperm from the son, or the male, the son of God, goes up the birth canal. And then they compete for that egg to strike it like a lightning bolt. Because they're really electrical charges.
That's right.
Are we clear?
Right.
And they stimulate that egg that's waiting at the door, and they stimulate that egg, then the uterus, that crown, or what you call that seat, opens up and lets one in. Sometimes, once in a while, two gets in, but most time, the rest of them just, oh, dang, man. I was scared of these strippers. I got you. They chase him, right? That's how it really works. That's the honest way it works. Because those who don't make it, they know they're going to be food. See, the ones that don't make it, they become food. And the one who strikes egg, they go in there to chilling. Yeah. Got this. And so they make a seat for the son. So he's special. That's why they call it virgin birth. You special. You know, and then when they want to convert them to males, right? She puts out special fluids or food for them and turns one of her eggs, her daughters, into a male. That's why women usually spoil their sons. No matter how big they are and stupid and assholes they are. You can have mothers that have a son and daughter, and a little girl, boy, she rough, struggling and stuff like that, and mother, and this big ass boy over here that don't do shit, excuse the expression, let's be honest. She be spoiling him and she be catching, because really, the queen knows that she can take care of herself, but she just listens. Because it's her nature. A woman is a governor by nature. But that's not a justification. We're just telling the truth how things work. And this big doofy head over here don't do crap. Always muscles, dumb as hell. Not really dumb, just spoiled. You know, mom take care of him, pat him, and mom, and she give him sandwiches and everything. You make your own sandwich, girl. Right. You. And that's how it works. But you need to really understand. And sometimes women who don't know themselves, they do it naturally, but some of them, by forgetting the culture, don't necessarily know why they're really doing that. But that's what it really is. Because by nature, a woman is full of all the genetic code, and males are limited.
Islam.
So they kind of help us out a little bit, because we kind of like, yeah, sure. You know, we call it X gene and the Y gene type thing. We missing a leg, we be hopping along, cat. Yeah, anyway. You know, so we're more or less designed, not that we don't have some of the intuit of our mothers, but we're more or less given what you would call a building character. And so we get all this stuff so we can build stuff for them. Really. That's why we don't usually act right until they come around. You know, like most of you who are men, you kind of know the truth. You know, we don't talk about it a lot. You already know. One woman around, please. They had a bag of popcorn and hot dogs, whatever they eat, and looking at TV and sitting back and with their feet all up on the pillows and stuff. Don't care if the curtain's leaning over that way. Women come, they want to straighten everything up. They want nags on their car and stuff like that. Look, because if it wasn't for all that, so they had the old truck, they got a stick, you know, blam, blam, you know, run good, spotted, bang up. Oh, look at get down. You know, she gonna, you want to polish it and all that. That's really what it is. It's a balance. Just get like what it really is. But because of socialization, we take different positions, but that's the real truth. You know, but we're outside of culture, so we're kind of a little messed up a little bit. We need to straighten up some of these things. However, that's really true, because you already know we kind of stay boys. We just fake it like we, yeah, right, yeah, truthfully. And subtly, it's an understood. But, you know, we got to have our little bit of pride, so they let us have our space. Sometimes, as men, we get kind of upset about that, too. But we, because you really ain't the man, you're the moment, but we like to, that's all. You know, yeah, all right, we got that for the minute. And when women really know themselves, and we're really operating in the culture, you know, women really know themselves, they'll take their sons and really make them pull out everything that's in them. That's why they say behind every great man is a greater woman. They'll just say it's a great woman, but no, but that mom know. You know, no different than say who the Bowers, a mother. The Bowers' mother said to them what their sons was going to do, controlling this thing under the Inquisition operation, and they became what you call the Rothschilds that have been running the planet with their casting spells by controlling the money flow and thus the nations for the Inquisition operations, and they're right into people's faces, and the people don't even understand what's going on and think they're getting paid. They ain't getting paid their sharecropping, even their own labor. But they got gods though. They know Jesus and Muhammad, they're full of crap. However, Europeans don't care because he's controlling them while they're boasting about their God power. And when he gets ready, he just simply turns the electrical current sperm, genetics, genesis. You understand? It's just the current off. You know, the electrical system nerves because it's dealing with the body. Are we clear? And they think it's moony. It is kind of moony, but not moony like they think it is. So money ain't what they think it is. Are we clear? And currency is understanding the electrical system of the human body and looking at it for what it is, a biological machine. And learning its operations and its chemistry on the 12 salts and attacking them through the food systems right across the table. And they're looking at some piece of paper that they think is the money. It's a bookkeeping instrument. Only. Now, point again. Those 4 quarters, right? Right? So you still have the mundane cross, don't you?
Yeah.
Right? So that would be 25%. 25%. Excuse my scribble, y'all. 25%. Right? So that makes 100%, right? So your pennies are what? Copper. Venus. See? So you got Venus. Moon. Excuse me, y'all. Sun. Venus. Right? And so your silver quarters is the moon. Right? And your Jochenthaler, is the sun. And so the monetary, the ecology that is representative of honor in trade is gold and silver coin by weights and measures, capped by copper. All based on planetary cosmology.
Your real money.
Are we clear? Earth civilization. Are we clear? So it takes 4 quarters to make a dollar. So that is what? 360 degrees, isn't it? Huh?
Yes.
So 360 degrees, and there you go. And then they'll put within it your pyramid, which is a symbol of civilization on earth, right?
Yeah.
And then they deal with the 7 senses and combine them, and they call it 1 sense. And so they give you the eye of all universal law, referred to as the 7 eyes of Allah. You see? Or sometimes he'll give you this and give you, eye in a jewel form. Somebody may call it eye of Horus. And so those who really understand this are taken to the mountain top and are given the knowledge so they can see the estate or the land, see how things actually operate. They're not confused. And therefore they recognize that they are the mother's son. Therefore they're Masons. Masons. And they study this. That's what Masonry is. So Masonry is Islam. You understand? And we ain't talking about the fraternal club orders. We're talking about the nature of our being. Are we clear? This is why Masons take the Moorish crown and name their lodges after women. And they call their lodges mother. And all their lodges will be named after some Moorish woman, Moorish queen, or some land area, or a few Moorish sultans or kings. Are we clear? And so that you can't lie and say that they didn't do that, all you need to go is to the Virgin Mary at Alexander and look at that obelisk and go inside and you see them wearing your crown. And they've been running your planet with your stuff. Now, what you want to do, that's on you. You want to play nigger? Go ahead and be the nigger. You got a right to be that if you choose to, but you don't have a right to march around and complain either. Because it ain't none of your so-called leaders that don't know this information. I don't care if they claim to be Muslims, Jews, or Christians. They all know it because they're all PhDs and they're all Gnostics, and most of them dress quite well at the expense of the widow's pennies. And the other 99% got a zip lip when it comes to this knowledge. You know, Rome come take your house and stuff. They said, well, let us just pray on it. And I'm going to say, well, let us march it. You know what I'm saying? Let us believe it harder. And they'll say, let us make it the plate heavier, and then pass the plate around. You know, I lost my bus ticket, I need a plane. Then they'll start collecting finance for a plane. Because I can't walk, because I got to deliver the word of the Lord on the other side of town and shit. Yeah. And people have been going for this stuff for centuries. They have. And logically, those who have been the parasites, and they are parasites, don't want this over. Because once the masses know how this stuff works,
It's over.
Yeah, but they don't want to know.
not only will they stop giving them the widow's pennies, some of them widows might come out with some broomsticks with some forks on the end of them. And especially starting to find out where all those missing children been going to the burger joints. And some of their sicknesses have been coming from eating their own children, and they didn't know it. So these people claim to be innocent, well, you've been eating them too. Because you know they're going to find out they've been taking their organs, harvesting, they call it harvesting. They've been harvesting them for centuries. And I guarantee you, if you dig up most of them old churches, you're going to find baby bones on them. So whenever they're tearing them down, they will make sure they got closed perimeters. They'll never tear them down without putting not just shields. You ain't getting near in there, you know. You're going to find all them baby bones underneath them chambers, which are called hell. And of course, while you're at it, brother, can you read us hell from the dictionary? Law's dictionary? Matter of fact, come with up here. Yeah, I know. I know you got skates on. You remember skates? When we were little, they had this kind of skates that you used to put them on your shoes. You remember what kind of skates?
I remember them days. Yeah. I remember them days.
And you could stretch them whatever size.
It'd be good if you got a pair of shoes.
Had the oil on the lock there, but you know, you could go.
I remember them days.
Come on, brother. You can. I don't know if you got glasses. Come on up here.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was the trading places the last ditch of survival for the Europeans?
The trading places. What do you?
Trading places with,
What you talking about? Stock markets. They're trading
no, I'm
places.
talking about the Europeans trading places with,
Oh, you talking about?
Was it that-
No, this is called.
was this their
Where did we
last
go?
ditch of
I'm
survival?
going to give you a symbol.
Okay.
It's symbolic. Where did we go the other week? Was that 1 week ago?
Yeah, that's right.
Because we do so much stuff.
I know, right?
Time flies when we went to a masquerade ball, didn't we?
Correct.
You know what Halloween is for?
Yes,
You know what masquerade ball is for?
yes.
For trading places.
Trading, I know.
Between the nobles
Mhm.
and who?
The commoners,
Yes.
the peasants.
Yes.
So it's amazing because I was standing at the restroom and the lady inquired. She said, "Are you an Eastern Star?"
Of course you
And
are.
I said, "Yes, by nature, but not by lodge affiliation." She just took off running like I stabbed her or something.
No, because you know that you know. See, because the whole deal is that they're substitutes.
She didn't even go to the restroom. Like,
This is the whole that deal.
yeah.
She just made God. You understand what it is. I mean, in another way, you know, but we understand what that means.
Because I was looking at some of the,
You know, yeah, Erica said,
I was looking at some of these certificates, the naturalization certificate,
mm-hmm.
and it states former nationality, and it lists like Germany, British, and things of that nature. And then when I examined the parchment that is on at the bottom, it says Department of Labor.
Of course.
And I'm like, oh my God, your brain got to be on backwards.
Now you understand
to leave
slave,
your,
Slovakia?
right, your brain must be on backwards to leave your so-called nationality to trade places to become
Naturalized.
naturalized.
All right, but where did they come? To the North Gate to be liberated from the popes of Rome.
But you still under the same subjugation.
But didn't they get treated well? Didn't they get
So,
all right, so
nowhere
now,
to go. Nowhere to
their
go.
great mystery is to create the Wizard of Oz to
Correct.
take over the house. And so God has to reveal through the dog backwards. That's the symbolism. The dog pulls the curtain and exposes the Oz, the wizard. Emerald City is Venus. Yellow Brick Road is the sun. Your zodiac constitution. But
What you got?
no, I'm talking to you over there.
Okay, here we go.
The camera's right here.
All right, how we doing? Here we go.
I think it's something like that.
All right. I'm in the Black's Law Fifth.
Oh, make it so comfortable, brother.
And he asked me to know you got
You need to
it.
see
You
it.
got it, stop. We got the escature. Or the escature.
Now write down excature.
E.
Hold on, slow, because I want them to get familiar with some things that we're not going to go over here tonight. You know, when you get a check and you think you've been paid, excature, just keep that in mind. You know, Chancery Court, when they be stealing people's houses and foreclosures, the Chancery, let's keep that in mind too. Now go ahead and read. Because if y'all don't be paying Rome, you're going to hell now.
We're going to get you a spelling on escature. E. X as an X-ray. C is in Charlie. H is in Harry. E is in everlasting. Q. U. E as in Edward again. And then R. Escature. I'm in Black's Law 5th. And it reads as thus. That department of the English government which has charge of the collection of the national revenue, the Treasury Department. It is said to have been so named from the, checkered cloth resembling a chessboard which anciently covered the table there, and on which, when certain of the king's accounts were made up, the sums were marked and scored with counters.
Now hold it right there. Now that's why you see all the lodges have checkerboard floors, white and black tiles. Just keep that in mind. Keep on going.
Counters, and then it says 3BL, COM 44 reference. For court of escature and court of escature chamber, see those titles. So there's a court of escature and a court of escature chamber.
All right, now read hell. Y'all keep these notes so you keep in mind, so that know that your family's concepts of things that they've been taught in the name of religion is not really what things mean, and that these clergy, working with the popes of Rome, have been deceiving them deliberately. And they're really collectors for the excature chambers. How about some tithes in this stuff? I don't hear no coinage here.
So the first question in my mind, this is back in the day, why am I looking for hell in a law dictionary? So you gotta let that marinate for a minute.
And why is hell hot and beneath the ground?
I'm in Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. Hell, Hell. The name formerly given in England to a place under the execution chamber, where the king's debtors were confined.
Now you understand why when the people owe the IRS, they throw you in jail? That's hell. They've been collecting for the popes of Rome, and your clergy on these other corners are spies to keep the communities in check. In the name of the Lords of London, and these people think they're talking about the Lord of Jesus, of God, of Allah, of Yahweh. Because they don't know, and they can't read. And these people they thought were giving them religion are really Roman soldiers. Are we clear? And so Noble Drew Ali said, I pulled the wool off of all secret societies. So why y'all playing? Then in relationship to some of these Europeans that have been thrown on the bus, he said, the Negro problem is your problem. Some of these Europeans are helping me. Why aren't you helping me? But these people don't understand because they don't know the history. And for those that don't, he said, well, Lord, go back to that state of mind of your ancient mothers and fathers. Because as soon as you do, you can start finding all this stuff out. Because it ain't even hidden. But for those who don't study, they stay in a dogmatic level and they take everything literal, and it's not all literal. Much of it is allegorical. Are we clear? And some of it's in signs and symbols. But if never explained, you don't get it. You get all spookied up. Us, the devil. That's a justification of that. You don't know what the hell's going on. You don't understand it, so you call it the devil. Because you're not taking the responsibility to use your mind. Are we clear? So now you have, and back to your 7, good brother, so you got 4 quarters. That's why they call quarters. But it's percentage of the whole. Right? So 4 quarters make $1. Right? But the 4 quarters are always silver. And then the dollar is the gold coin. So the Romans came to steal your gold and silver coins and claim it for the Queen of England under the Spanish Inquisition. And you forgot what their mission is. Are we clear? So they did the book burnings called expurgatorius and prohibitorum to disconnect you from the history. Are we clear? Then they branded you Negro, black, colored, and Indian to disconnect you from your illustrious history. But they needed you to agree to justify themselves. So now you got all these people of Canaanite, Moabite descent claim to be black people. And my cousin's Negro. And my mother is soul sister. My father is colored. And we're people of color. This is spiritual. And that's what they teach to the children. Now the children are lost politically.
My grandmother was an Indian.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You know, and then they justify it. And so since it don't make sense when people look this stuff up and they say, well, see, this is ebonics. Meaning they can make words mean whatever they want it to mean type stuff. So they got ebonic dictionaries type stuff. What's ebonics? See, ebony means black. Of the Neverland. Okay? And then children get all bright-eyed and say, oh, all right.
I say it.
And they can't read. And so Europeans come to the community, sell them dead pledges, mortgages, all kinds of contracts. And we was talking earlier, Dr. Naira, about the, feedback loop. And so to speed up the process of claiming the estates, they do reverse mortgages for people who really don't know how this thing works and don't even know everything is against their estate already. As soon as they signed that promissory note, they just signed off an entry into the Sister QV Trust. The house comes from their estate. The land, the property is already paid for. And it can't be sold any damn way. Duh. And they don't get it. And any transaction, that you give them is called a gift. And they'll put it right in the contract and say, de donis. Write that down so y'all can do the research. De donis. Say thank you very much. And then they act as a trustee on your behalf in a name that sounds like yours, which they call the straw man, Wizard of Oz. And then they discharge on your behalf. That's United States Code of Law, United States Codes 95, subsection A and B. So look that up, and that'll verify that the debt's on them, not you.
What was that? Yeah, say it again.
You know, we could always, huh?
Repeat.
Who said what? I didn't hear, I hear this mumbling, but I didn't hear this clear.
Repeat the code, please.
95, United States Code, 95, subsection A and B. And of course, those of you who have the flash drive, you'll see that in the reversion of article. And of course, as people finding this stuff out, you know, they're making counterclaims, and so the Europeans call that terrorist paper. You're terrorizing them for colonizing you.
Paper terrorists.
Yeah, paper terror, you know.
We're not paper terrorists.
Of course not, but it's called projection.
Yeah.
They're reversing, charging the people for accusing them of being colonists. I mean, is this not what it is?
Exactly.
But what are they counting on when they do stuff like this? Well, as a matter of fact, they have a Klan operation, the Ku Klux Klan operation called the Southern Poverty Law Firm that CIA controls, that always puts counter information out there. But they know that most people have sleep now, you know, but they're waking up. And then they're making attacks. They're making attacks on people, you know, who are cognizant, because remember, this thing has only worked because people are ignorant. Extremely ignorant. You know, and get a brother Mike.
Well, all I'm asking is that.
Here's the mic, brother. Come on, man.
You can sing
So the
too.
world can hear.
Notice how you hold that mic. You can tell he's a singer. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
My only question.
Say, give me the mic, please.
All right, my question is, our people are so asleep that we've been dumbfounded so bad that we don't want the truth. When you try to hand it to them indirectly, directly, they don't want to hear it. And when they see they have to stand on it, they definitely don't want it. But they're asking for the truth. They're asking for relief.
And then when you give it, they run.
Yeah, they run.
Or they get sensitive. See, because this is what it is. And myself and Dr. Nayo was talking earlier, and we didn't finish our conversation, but one of these things came up, that part. The Europeans, under the Inquisition hegemony, has gotten comfortable in their traded places. That's why they did the movie Trading Places, specifically in Philadelphia. That's why it was done specifically in Philadelphia. And the theme was the stock market. They're talking. All right, see, because our people really know in their hearts that they've been hypocrites. But because we have so many hypocrites around us, they've gotten comfortable. Meaning that we've gotten comfortable in being in the struggle. No, don't never finish the race. You're in the struggle. You know, so we're in this beautiful thing like this. You see this table? So take pictures. See, we're in the struggle, right? Don't move the table now. See, we're on the move.
That's what we do.
You know,
Right.
yeah, we got this, right? Move the table and you see they're standing on the treadmill. Those are Negro movements. Never intended to go anywhere, but because so many people are doing it, yeah, we're in the black struggle. Stuff like that, right? You know, let's get on the knee and stuff. You know, to show them that we really care. You know, type stuff. But this is the deal. The Europeans gotten used to substitute in his masquerade of pretending to be Americans. And they've been successfully pretending they're a private corporation, which is now registered in Puerto Rico, United States Corporation, and presented to a bunch of dummies and donkeys and believers who've been doing it to their own children that it's a country. And they've been pretending that the American continent is their country. So they'll mix all of that in a conversation in the same paragraph. See, the U.S., so we, America, is this and America is that. And these people start, they're picking up this connotation. So they don't know the children being subject to their parents who they've trusted, who've been Christianized. They're called conversos. See, America's a country, and the white man is the ruler, and he allows us to do stuff. So we need a license from him to breathe. And do your little sister's hair, but wait, let me get this license so you can braid your sister's hair and stuff like that. From God. Oh, no, it's the great white father. No, not the great white man. No, all right. It's all these hypocrites that have become these hypocrites who they are, been selling themselves out and selling their children out and blaming all this misery on this mystery devil. They never meet him, but they know he's there. And every 5 minutes they talk about Jesus, God, devil. Every 5 minutes, Jesus, God, devil. It goes in a circle over and over again. Then when the other guy didn't give them enough peanut butter sandwiches, they get another one down the street. See, I used to dig niggler because I see what I used to smoke trees and stuff. And I used to drink 5 times a day and stuff like that. And I smoked all kind of stuff and did all kind of stuff. And if it wasn't a snake, it was hit. I do all this kind of stuff, but then I got saved, right? And then now they're going to tell you what God is and what God ain't and all this stuff. But meanwhile, he's happened to be broke, and they want to collect for him. So they're the middleman, and they've been doing this stuff over and over again. Meanwhile, the youth are dying younger and younger. Families are falling apart. The IRS steals all their estates. The Europeans come from anywhere around the world and gentrify their communities, but they're saved. See, but they're all hypocrites, so they comfort each other, marching and praying all over the place and acting like it's spiritual because everybody agrees. It's BS, but since everybody agrees, they can act like they've done some spiritual salvation thing for their people. Then you come with the truth. No, what you're dealing with is unum sanctum. Y'all playing nigger games. You come under the Christian Black Code since 1724, adopted in all the states 1868 when they closed the Freedmen's Bureau, and they converted their private corporation that was bankrupted into person and been converting your states to that personage under their corporate auspices, etc. And you've been cooperating with this stuff, so stop being the hypocrite that you are. Oh, you trying to go against our religion. You don't have God. You don't know Jesus. You're against Yahweh. And they start talking about that. And then, well, you got a mother, you got a nativity, you got a nationality. Oh man, that's the devil. And they start that. Now they go into the devil thing again. They're avoiding responsibility because you've just given them a mirror and it's ugly.
Well, how do we break the spirit, bro? I mean, how do we break the spell?
Whosoever will, let them hear. Whosoever will, let them come. Some of you, and all of you, to be particularly true, are who your forefathers were, without doubt or contradiction. At what point you didn't understand how things work on this planet? Some of you who were with them then are with them now. Some of you who were not with them then are not with them now. It is that simple. However, those on the dark side have been running the game for quite some time and thought they would never be pulled down off that throne. So what you have is direct threats to that whole paradigm that's taking place not just here in the North Gate, but on the entire planet. The first real serious threat to the dismantlement of the Inquisition hegemony that's been hiding under layers. Now, so they got their dark priesthood that rules from Rome. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, put that down, so go look it up. And go look at the son of perdition and the 666. Son of perdition, and ain't no spook, it's a man. the number of a man. Then look at them, they have declared themselves God. And so they put on that fiduciary, belligerent fiduciary debt note, in God we trust. And the people think they're talking about the creator source. And they talk about government ordinance departments of Rome. An acronym. Matter of fact, they even have a trucking firm. They got G, dot, O, dot, D, dot. It's God. It's commerce. You understand? Now, the deal is, now that you present these things to them, first, if you try to present to them just simply the moral argument, they'll get emotional, see, because everybody's been dealing with beliefs, so they can dismiss it at will when it ain't their version. Then when you get facts, and they can't argue with them, then they run. They run because you just pull the wool off of them, because everybody that looks like you not necessarily your friend or your brother. Because some of these people with turbans and fences on will be trying to help this European put you back into servitude. Let's get it like it is. Now remember, people have been trained in hiding behind dogma for a couple of centuries now, and they're comfortable. Why? Because the Roman army, through the United States Corporation, has been going to and fro the earth, devouring nations and sharing the spoils with them. Even though they're getting crumbs, sharing the spoils with them. So now they have vested interest. Even though they didn't get Negro badges. You know, like for instance, Second World War, the guys, the brothers that flew them planes. And everybody upset because they didn't get awards. And then in the Civil War, you know, Buffalo Soldier guys and stuff. But they didn't get no awards. Fighting against their own people. But they're supposed to be heroes. They're conversos. Get over it. They're still looking for their awards, and they want to march all over the place and complain. It's called extreme hypocrisy. But for people who don't know the history, they look like neglected soldiers that fought for their country. No, they're fighting for the European corporation, pretending to be a country against their own self and their brothers around the world, and didn't get the reward that they were promised. And now they're pissed and want everybody to feel sorry for them. But some people know that black is a neon sign for traitor. But because most of the people are ignorant, they're wearing it proudly, thinking it means Afrocentric endearment. Do you understand?
I do.
So let's look at this like it really is. When you get into the history, the European ain't totally guilty and we ain't totally innocent. You know, so let's get it like it is. And like the prophet said, I'm going to make the European tell you the truth. He says, keep up with when we come into the electronic age, again, because ain't nothing new. He said, I'll make the European tell you the truth. He said, keep up with your radios. Keep up with your newspaper. I'll make the European tell you the truth. Now the Europeans are telling you some of the real history, while they're still trying to claim to be the Americans. They're not the Americans, they're Europeans. They're the Albions, and they overthrew you, and they've been living off your virtues. And you've been, that's our people in general, been helping them maintain that power across this planet, because none of the wars that Rome has initiated against the Asiatic world was successful without the help of these Asiatic conversos here that insist on being black Negroes. None of the wars were won, except that we stood up, because nobody beats the Moors. And then nobody wants to take responsibility for our hypocrisy. Well, guess what? Good and bad. Hey, get over it. However, if they want to continue to serve Rome, they have a right to do that. And everyone has a choice now, but under Aquarian lights, whatever God you've been claiming, and that is taken with a grain of salt. You're gonna have to prove it, and whatever side of life you're on for this coming age, your position will be exposed, whatever it is, whatever gods you claim, call them. You got a cell phone, get your calls in early, because they're on the run too. And all that is real will be exposed for the most part, but this is a stepping stone of development, truthfully. And then they're going to be hit with another wave. All right, so a lot of things that we're doing now will not be doing in short order when they think they've arrived actually to a new degree of ascension. They're going to be blasted with more, but they have to be stepped up in order to handle what's coming.
Right.
So that they don't crack up. However, real deal of it is game up, game over. As it was. So all of the dark priests of the Piscean lights is dimming. But before it all comes down, everything must, I say, be dismantled. So you're warned so that you can prepare for the coming age. But while the coming age comes, the lords of the last cycle don't want to get off the throne. Some want to help, but even some of the dark priests want to murder them too. But the deal with it is what they must understand, that is not determined by legislation at this time. It's not legislation. It's ephemeral. You understand? They have no choice. It's wiser if they do it willingly. But the sweep is on whether they're willing or not. The fact that people have gotten caught up in dogmata, they have a false sense of security in the name of religion, not in religion, in the name of religion. But because it has stagnated so many good-hearted beings that need to be advanced. As a general rule, you know there's no interference. As long as it's human to human, there's no interference. But you've had interference on the dark side.
Yeah, they interfering now.
You've had interference on the dark side. And they've made some compacts. So they're quarantined. Now, if those who want to follow them, they can.
I ain't got no problem with
Free
that.
will. But guess what they're not going to be able to do? Hide behind their idol gods.
All right. But they're attacking us at the same time.
Of course they are, because they're being dismantled.
So we just got to straighten
It's
out.
like this. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't like to get all metaphysical with this stuff. I like to just keep it simple. You got to want your birthright as much as he wants to steal it.
More than you want to steal. More.
Well, yeah, because truthfully, man, let's look like this. 10 lies don't have the power of one truth.
Islam.
Are you willing to tell it?
Ooh.
It's that simple. Like Drew said, and it's true. He said, you have the most powerful weapon in the world, the truth. Use it. And in relationship to that truth, our most powerful weapon is our press. So the prophet set up the press. Moses didn't have to do it. As a matter of fact, he had 2 of them. This is why the sellouts dismantled it and jumped it as soon as they got him out of the way. Called the great sellout. So just keep it like it. Let's keep it like it is. But you understand birthright. And he said, what? Help me in my great missionary work. Then he tells you what the missionary work is. What? Bring the people back in constitutional form of government. So now keep this in mind for those in sequence. And this is redundant, but keep this in mind. So as people begin to find this out, they're arguing whether or not they're gold or silver coins, right?
Yes.
So essentially, they're making arguments against Wilson's operations on Jekyll Island with the selling of their private corporation guised as the country. Guised as the country. and using the limited delegated authority of Constitution to do business at the North Gate as if it was the sovereign position. Told the Moors, step down or die, birth of a nation. Shown in the palace, White House. Right? And so then that corporation that they reestablished in Guam and Puerto Rico, right, it lived until around 1925. Then Noble Drawley registered the Old Canaanite Temple, which evolved into the Moorish Temple of Science, also known as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, as a civic organization in 1925. They crashed again, but they covered it up until about 1928, right? And they couldn't hide it anymore. Meanwhile, between 25 and 28, they infiltrated the Moorish movement. And so Noble Drawley adopted a religious affidavit in 1928, right? They had a special meeting, July the 20th, right? Right?
Right.
And so as a ritual, the dark priesthood murdered him 1 year later on that day, July the 20th. So the religious affidavit just began to take root in the Moorish movement, and then they adopted as the corporate name for the corporate operations under trust, Moorish Science Temple of America, to the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, or the Moorish Temple of Science, which is unincorporated, to protect it from the infiltrators. Right? However, they didn't teach about what Heard's law is, that Islam is law, order, and governmental principles, did they?
No.
And they breached their fiduciary trust, didn't they? And they figured nobody would come along and understand what Drawley really did, because they didn't teach civics, right? So here's this information sitting up there big as day, right on their instruments. And these people read it every day in their temples, don't know what they're reading. But then we had some young Moors that came into this movement with their eyes already open.
Come on.
That understood what it really means. And they've been putting information out there, and I think some of those ones who've been studying are sitting in this room. And it's caused a firestorm, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
People can't hide, can they?
No, sir.
And all of a sudden, all these roaches come out the woodworks, want to tell you what Islam is and what Islam is not, what the temple is, what the temple is not, who's a party and who ain't party. But the deal is, it's the people's birthright. And so while they're attacking those who tell the truth, the people themselves are going to come to the defense of the truth, because it's their birthright.
Islam.
So you got some people punking out, and some people got used to the power position that they've been entertaining for a while, and start being convinced that them seats are theirs. And convinced that that power that goes to them seats belong to them personally. That it don't belong to the people, and no matter what the people say or wake up to, they're going to dictate to the people their authority that they don't damn have. Nevertheless, so all the bonds that Rome got on the stock market, as long as somebody buys them, they're cool, ain't they? So what happens when the world stop buying their bonds and don't want to do business with them? Industry going to come to a screeching halt. But when it starts up again, it's going to be in favor of the Asiatics.
Islam.
Now take those marbles and go play with them. Now that's the truth, and not an opinion. And it's playing out before your eyes for those who deny it. They can deny it all they want to. But guess what's going to happen to that stuff they got in the mattress? I got back up here. It's cool. Firm mattress. When you may use that paper for firewood later on. Because you're going to get a small period of time to bring it out. Small period of time. Then it's going to show the black market. It's going to show those who have been using it for less than honorable purposes. and it's going to be dismantled. Those who've been controlling it under the Bauer family, and the Pierces, and the Bushes and the Clintons, and all the rest of them, to undermine the republic,
How fast? What we gotta do to make it fall fast?
including
Proclaim nationality.
the Knights Templar named Donald J. Trump, who's playing good cop, bad cop with them. Who some people looking at to restore the republic symbolically, but they want you to accept the other side of this coin as this thing is collapsing, when none of them need to be in place, but meanwhile, if you want to play the game, go ahead and do your thing. But if you do not what you're mandated to do, because he wasn't placed by mandate. He's just working with certain part of the military that's in the civil war that's going on right now. That want the republic back. They want the republic back because their stuff is being dissolved. Not necessarily because they're honorable. But for whatever good comes out of it, so that will be remembered, Donnie. But they're going to see how far he moves with this. But there's a shadow behind the shadow behind the shadow. And he's about 17 steps down. So what they think they see, they still don't see. But what it does, it exposes who is really sincere. This time, what you see being played out is that the trees are being shaken. Some fruit's going to fall off, some going to stay there. But who's real and who's fake? The sun stands at high noon. Go read Religious Controversy in your literature book. And when the sun stands at high noon,
No shadow.
and it's ecliptic, there is no shadow, therefore there shall be no stone unturned,
That's right.
no shadows.
Bright light.
And if you pull up a rock and that there's albino grass under it, it's going to get burnt. But everything's going to be under the sun. And so you're going to experience some rays that you didn't know the sun had. And they can call it a grand solar minimum or whatever they want to call it. Well, point is, the shit's over. And don't excuse my language. Now, fact of the matter is, all of us, basically what we're really trying to do, even with our shortcomings and weaknesses, is to not comfort the people with a psychological fiction, but to simply tell them the truth, prepare them for what they're going to really be facing. They have the strength to face it. They can choose not to exercise that strength and they'll simply become food. And if they want to play ostrich and put their head in the sand, that's fine, because some people like feather coats.
When your head is in the
There's a
sand.
breeze going on out there, ain't it?
Yeah. When your head's in the sand, your ass is up.
Yes. And it ain't Jenny Craig. And really the deal of it is we're in a cycle where the denial that has become the culture here has no comfort zone of life. The dogma, or the SSS, that the people have been living on for generations, called the social solace systems, that's all their so-called dogma belief systems, they're going to find no comfort. They're not going to be able to lay their head down and do their fake prayers with the comforts of their idol gods that have no power to hear, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. Because their asses is going to get kicked. Both cheeks. The game is up. Now, those who are willing to go through the strain will be tested. The dismal crypts and all. What you see in the chambers of the adepts, the sincerity, the dismal crypts, the offers, etc. Yes, it will be there. We've got the gate out. Go ahead, play it. You want to play it? Or you want to just go ahead and do your time and learn your lesson. You understand? Meanwhile, you want to be liberated? Stop trying to be liberated. Liberate somebody else. In doing so, you will liberate you. But if you seek to liberate yourself, your time is just going to be stretched. Because you will recognize that you're bound together. One for your brother, what you want for yourself.
Chapter 25.
And don't make this stuff complex or complicated. Doesn't need to be, never did. So let's not get all mysteriously metaphysical and put a ring through your nose type shit. Get off it. They're not, put it this way, another way. Don't necessarily feel bad for people who reject this pretending that they're confused. I'll repeat that statement.
Yeah.
Pretending that they're confused. Pretending that they can't understand this.
You know exactly what they're doing.
You understand?
Yeah.
That is mysterious. No, they're trying to see how long Rome can stay in power and throw them some crumbs to help keep this BS going on that's been going on against humanity for these last few centuries. And it ain't gonna last. Are we clear? And every day that passes since the turn of the moon, especially the new year, March 21st, is going to start rolling out. Including them taking their bank accounts. Including them starting to put their cards in the machines. And they're saying, yeah, we're going to run through this. And the machine going, wait a minute, where's my stuff? And see, when they can't use that fiat, and then when they start to go use it, you know, like they say, all the prices are going up? No, the value accepted, not the value accepted is going down. Don't get this thing twisted. So the trade wars that they're talking about, and the so-called tariffs, I think that's House Joint Resolution was like 4827, something like that, where they're going after all the accounts of these Europeans who've been claiming to be Americans, who've got outside accounts in all the different countries, etc. They're going and claiming those accounts. And then those who don't produce the revenues that was from that, to try to save what they stole, they're going to have to reestablish industry over here to try to cover up their deeds. So therefore, they're going to be Job's. What's that book in the Bible, Job? Oh, Job. And so Trump is dealing with this area, if you get the point. And so those who don't want the oligarchs who don't want this stuff fixed are going to fight him tooth and nail. That's why they want him out of that seat. Are we clear? It's not defending him, it's just telling you what the politics are. You understand? Because half of them, about 78 to 90% of all the Congress people should be hanging from a rope. Should be. Not that they will. Should be. This is really what they're worried about with Trump. And that's not a defense of Trump. It's not an either or thing. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's the politics that you see being played out in Queen Columbia's seat down there, and somebody got a candle under her keisters. Are we clear? Meanwhile, those who will become conscious and those who have been openly exposing Rome is targeting. All right? However, they're not going to get away with it like they did in the past. but they're getting some satisfaction, but it's temporal. Are we clear? And the more the people wake up, the less they can do. Are we clear? The other deal is, and Tamara, you know, this is about a lot of people, and this is also in relationship to your statement. You know, this assumption, you know, that our people are innocent because of who they are type thing, and because we've been abused, can't look at it that way at all. Any questions on the board, Tam? So keep that in mind. So look at the spirit of the being. Don't look at their sun on the surface. Look at their moon and their ascendant. Look at their works. They may say it's a peach tree, but if you see a bunch of watermelons underneath that tree, you get the point? You know, so, and the other deal that everybody should pay attention to, the different politicians, party affiliation notwithstanding, it's irrelevant, you know, because all of them in compromise. They're always promising the fix. Always look at the fruit. It's never fixed because they themselves are the root of the problem. That's why it's never fixed. Because they are the enemies of the people. They are substitutes. Their missionary work is totally parasitic, absolutely parasitic. All of the legislation or intellect is coming out of the Democratic Party and Republican Party operating at North America since 1861, for the most part, except for a few pieces of legislation coming from the Republican Party. All of it is colored and is designed to meet the ends of the Spanish Inquisition under a feedback loop disguised within the legislation. And that's the fact. And if you understand that and study it from that perspective, everything that they do, you can see the feedback loop. Now, your missionary work for yourself and your family is to stop feeding the vampires and learn those things necessary that start cutting the cords or abstractly demonstrate that you're putting on a turtleneck sweater. Not that that's your style, but that will be your garb, if you get the point. And learn those things that bring about that effect. And logically, this is why the Europeans and a lot of people on our side of the nation have been extremely upset when the Moors start entertaining Article 3 court via diversity of nationality, consular court. Of course, because they knew that many of their so-called Negro leader guys were put in power when Eisenhower in 1954 shut down the consular courts via their obligation to the Constitution and treaty with treaty enforcement, etc. And that's the abrogation of Article 3. And so, again, this is why you see so much emphasis being put on the abrogation of Article 1, whether or not they're gold coins, right, or silver coins. So you'll see people always talking about there's no money. Right. No, they're lying their asses off. There is money. The people aren't allowed to have their money. See, that little subtlety makes a big difference. So now they're lying knowingly. This is to create an air of innocence on the part of themselves and the Europeans who've been, most of them get their 501c3 skull and bones kickback payoff from. You know, but it sounds like they're really, you know, talking on behalf of the people, knowing that the marriage certificates are bank bonds and the birth certificates are bank bonds. So since the people are waking up to the barratry instruments, operations of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that dispels the people from the activities of Coolidge, you see, and Hoover, and the COINTELPRO operations, and dispels their activities from Wilson, then dispels their activities from them overthrowing the Lincoln administration, which are all connected. See, so now the people waking up, they're looking at Roosevelt and talking about authenticating the birth certificate as if they're at the root of the problem. Now, this is the deal. Look at this, Tim. So if they make the argument, right? Any court they go to, they'll not have due process because none of them are courts. Those was neutralized by Eisenhower. They don't want you to talk about that, do they? That's why they mad at me for doing lesson book 14. Well, they thought nobody figured this stuff out. They think people are dumb. Everybody's not dumb. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Sure.
And then, that ain't it. It feeds back to, not just to Jekyll Island, feeds back to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, and see, so they get people arguing Delano Roosevelt as if that's solutionary. No, if now you can go back further, then you can go to the Alhambra. But if you want to talk about the North Gate and start being effective with this man, there's two things that you got to start dealing with: reality.
The coup d'etat.
The coup d'etat. So you're dealing with the bonding of all birth certificates, bank bonds, the selling of bodies, and of course they need a pound of flesh. So this is why they later did Roe v. Wade, to attack the children, so this way they can get, they don't have to necessarily be detailed on some of these mothers that birth champions because they intend to kill the firstborn anyway. Hear Rod? So how they gonna get rid of all these babies' bodies? Open up burger joints.
This is for the aborted.
I'm telling you what it is. This is really what it is. Meanwhile, they harvest the organs. And this is what the United States Corporation is all for in all the municipalities. This is the reason why the congressmen do not legislate against it, because they legislated for it. But they got to argue to the people like they love the children. And they care about women's bodies. Yeah, the parts that are edible. Well, it's true. And these people need to get over themselves with their hypocritical selves, pretending to be spiritual. They're full of shit. Oh, I shouldn't say it on the film? I said it. And that's being modest. And when these people find out who these people really are, including their Negroite helper guys, that reverends, they might be hamburger too. You know, this thing's gonna get uglier. You have no idea how ugly this thing is getting ready to get. Because we're not even talking the tip of the iceberg. It's not even, we've been modest. Oh, Taik, you guys cussing. That's not cussing. They ain't seen nothing yet. You wait till these mothers really find out what they've been doing to their babies. Reverend Pigfoot and the rest of the crew, including delivering their children as rewards to the politicians. And the priests, while pretending they love Jesusness. And then have fits all over like they got epilepsy, acting like they're spiritual. They don't drop the pocketbook though. You know, right now they getting this off. Let's look. It's a lot of them, so they got this going on. You know, so everybody's hallelujah to you. All right, they got this right now. It's not what we say. You wait till these people, when they really wake, they ain't woke. They ain't even beginning to get woke. If they would get half woke, you're not going to like it. No, it's going to be that ugly. You're not going to like it. You know what that movie, What's that guy who kills the Avengers?
Thanos.
You hear the guy with the 5 stones or whatever?
Yeah. He kind of looks like Mean, doesn't he? He's a cleaner. He's a cleanser. Cleaning is not necessarily like we like it. But that is symbolic of a reality. It really is. Someone mentioned Adolf Hitler earlier.
On our phone, on our call with Brother Ed.
Yes. If you really understand the mathematics of the circle, Adolf Hitler is the son of destiny. A, son of destiny. Write that down. Remember I told you that. None of this stuff is what you think it is. Unfortunately, and it's not justifying pain for anyone. Are we clear?
Yeah. I was just looking at that watch the other day.
And a lot of people that you thought was good is exactly the opposite. And a lot of people that you thought was bad, you're going to find is exactly the opposite. And that probably 80, 90, maybe more than 90% of what the people think they know is a lie. And this has been the key to the dark priesthood and the Satanist power, that they have deceived the entire world. And dogma that has been presented to the masses in the name of religion, and I say it that way because people keep charging religion when they have not been given religion. They keep charging money when they have not been handling money. They keep charging law when they have not been governed under positive law. So the trinity of operations that feed the feedback loop is dogma fed to the masses under the SSS, social solace systems. Write it down, social solace systems, which is mind control systems sold to the masses and perpetrated against the masses and perpetrated upon humanity under the title religion, which it is not. Private commercial paper, right? Just what I just told you. And you can put fiat in parentheses, but fiat is the lesser. Private commercial paper is what it is. That belongs to the Knights of Malta Jesuit Order and the Circle Church on Fleet Street, England, of which the United States Corporation was and is its colony operations under the Spanish Inquisition operating in the Western Hemisphere. Not a country. Belongs to the Vatican. Operating under feudal law, but using the authority of the Republic Order of the Constitution organic for the United States operations at North America under ordinance and treaty, imposturing as government, and really a secret private oligarchy for themselves in service to the Pope of Rome under the secret treaty of Verona. And that's the fact. And so all legislation or ends legis coming from them is designed to meet that end. Feedback loop. It's a feedback loop. And the politics is designed and set up to keep you from figuring that out and to keep you pacified and busy arguing things that are of no worth. And this is why so much investment is put into the sports. It's not condemning sports now. It's just what it is. Exactly. And they always make sure it's beer around.
Destruction. That's right.
It's also a ritual going on as well.
Oh yes, ritual. They always do it at halftime.
Yeah.
Sure. And then make sure, because you know the East Gus Pacific Company, that said that they got Manhattan from the Moors as Indians for a string of beads, the rosary beads of the Roman Church, which the land can't be sold, lying. So what do? They put laced tobacco that has all kind of other additive concentrates that create cancer in the communities, and they call them Dutch. So they're showing them right in their face. And they flavor it to make it more appealing to kill them. And then all of your so-called medical industry becomes little cities in all your major cities to take care of the Roundup, which are being sued around the world except for here, which came from Monsanto, which is really a military operations for the Knights of Malta, which is an army in the Jesuit order, to continue the genocide operations at North America under the Spanish Inquisition, targeting Aboriginal people, although some of theirs will be casualties along the way. Islam, give her the mic. Now this is a fact. These are facts. Meanwhile, to help continue to dumb these people down, the oligarchs took over the hemp trade that they shut down for the DuPont family earlier, which they call marijuana, and they're doing what you would call the dopamine strains that restrict the dopamine from the brain that actually dumb the people down, and now they're the marijuana dealers. And then while they locked up half the brothers and sisters on the street who was smoking a joint. And half the population that's in there of the Aboriginal people didn't do anything to anybody. They're just smoking because that's what they do. But yet, the tobacco, with its lacings, has murdered more people than the marijuana has. But now your oligarchs are now the drug dealers, and they're even selling licenses for that. Oh well, because they're not, and then none of them are government. This is what you must understand. None of them are government. These are all private members of the Roman Curia, on the United States Service Corporation, operatives of the Jesuit order, and the Knights of Malta and Kaiklos, who've been pretending and impostoring as government, trading places, and these people think they're government.
So we're supposed to turn the other cheek and just look away?
Haven't they been doing it? Haven't they been doing it?
They've been doing it, yeah, they have.
And haven't these people who's supposed to be enforcing this Constitution telling these Moors that you all didn't teach civics?
Yes.
And they know that the Moors Temple of Science is a civic organization?
Yes.
And then many people start figuring this stuff out, start blaming the temple, and there ain't nothing wrong with the temple. You have a couple of corrupt administrators that have never been pulled out of them seats.
A couple.
And so, no, I'm being modest.
You being real modest,
Well,
brother.
being modest.
Too modest.
Well, it's like this, but all this stuff is provable.
Yeah.
And they mad at me as hell. Because I won't play badge with them. I'm walking around with a peacock with all my badges on. I got the same badges. Just sash them.
I know, I've been watching you for years, boy.
I ain't feeling it.
I've been with you for years.
I'm down in the field with the people.
Let's make it
I'm just not feeling it. Some people can do it. I can't. My stomach starts doing these kind of things. I just can't do that. I can't. Looking at the people, I can't do it. I just ain't selling out, and they can't pay me.
There ain't no time to do it now. We at the time now.
They ain't for sale.
Not denied.
And I don't need their titles.
Yeah,
He ain't really grand shit. No, I ain't. I'm just tired you got cheap sneaks. I'm cool. I got it.
Doc.
Go ahead.
Doc.
Go ahead, Doc.
Two things. I see that someone has a question here asking you what about the 5G phenomena that's going on, but I also was going to say, because we haven't said before you answer
Let's
that
go,
question.
let's go back down. Let's answer one thing at a time.
Okay, well, I'm thinking this might tie in. Apparently, and a lot hasn't been said, I haven't heard this in mainstream media because one, I don't listen to it much, but I do realize this is a lot of alt news, and tomorrow, around 12:36 a.m. or something, April 6th is this thing going on with the GPS, the universal thing that they're talking about is gonna, may affect some GPS type things. The only thing that probably would concern me more about that would be if I was on a plane and that thing was off. But the person, I don't know if that ties in anything with this person's, I know the 5G is something else that they're doing. This person wants to know what your thoughts are with regard to that.
Well,
But
we know
before
that 5G is not new. That's number one. Now, 5G has been used for military communications for quite a few decades.
Yes.
So however, the wavelength is more fine.
That's right.
And more penetrating. Now, the real concern is really this. Everything that the Romans touched, they weaponize.
Correct. AI.
This is your real problem is.
Yeah.
It is not so much 5G, so the masses think this stuff is new. It's not new, it's old tech. However, it's fine wavelength can also be used or accelerated into what you call the strength of that what microwaves may do. Mm-hmm. So they can use it actually not exactly close because there's so many waves above, but it can also be weaponized to cause strokes in people.
Correct.
And to interfere with any, like say, people who have that is caught up in the industry of them heart valve
pacemakers, different things.
ticker tape makers and type stuff. Mm-hmm.
What they refer to as AI.
Also, understand that all instruments that were created in these last, say 30 years or so, and given to the masses, which is really old technology, very old technology, older than old technology, and older than older technology. Phones, cell phones, computers, laptops. If it has a chip in it and a motherboard, it's already hacked. There's no such thing as, they're already hacked. Yeah. That's the other deal. And when I couldn't turn on my computer, I wasn't, you didn't see me get alarmed because I kind of knew what's up. They don't like Taik guy. But the deal of it is, so one of the plans that they have, this is one of the plans that they have, is to force the people to buy new technology of old technology. So they'll make all service platforms that they have non-functional. Mm-hmm. And then they can turn off different aspects of applications and phone operations and computers that people have invested thousands of notes in. Mm-hmm. But they're under kind of pressure a little bit, kind of because you have resistance from some of the people, including some P2 Masons from the Vatican, etc., who are trying to get on the right side of history while they have time. Mm-hmm. And then you have others around the world, including some of your Manchurians. And don't get caught up in this Manchurian elder thing, because some of them are operating with the Khazarian order. Okay. Including this RV stuff, including the dinar thing that they've been getting over on people with, because the Clintons drained that when they was in office. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are holding a lot of things that they think they're going to get something that they ain't getting, not really. So we don't want to go in that, but the 5G is also for them to more openly, say, grab data. For some people that woke up and start doing other things on their own to try to get out of that cycle of the control of the 4G. That's only a few years new to the people. They ain't new. But my concern would be more of the weaponization of it, not of its existence, because it's not new. is military communications that's been operating for the last 50-something years anyway. Go ahead.
Would you agree that by us raising our own vibration and frequency, we then would be able to rise above some of those weaponization tactics?
This is one of their
we're operating at
concerns.
such a low vibration
This is one of the concerns that they have.
that we will.
Because the paradigm is the same way the people got habitually groomed to the subservience position, they've gotten comfortable in the fake sovereignty position that they've claimed. So they're attacking people who are waking up to their birthright as being sovereign citizens, which they're not, as if it's a negative, because what they're doing, they're taking their power back. Now the other deal, this is what it is. Because the nature of your awakening unseats them, where the people are looking at votes and things, all that stuff is superficial. The people's consciousness is the plebiscite that removes them from power.
Absolutely.
The nature of the Aquarian lights will remove them from power. In about the year 93, according to the Egyptian calendar that they attributed to Gregory, some outsiders shifted the planet, I think, about 3 degrees as a countermeasure. And so they've been having this problem with navigating the planes and the airports, because they've been dealing with the pole star, what you call 23.5 degrees, just like where they have Billy Penn standing 23.5 degrees east by northeast to the Masonic Lodge at Broad Street in Shakamoxon, Philadelphia. Shakamoxon, claiming sovereign right over the North Gate, which is still the Capitolium. Still the Capitolium, not Washington, D.C. And so what's happened is they've had to retrain and reorient all their so-called pilots. Right? They've been doing this for a while. This stuff ain't new. Now, because they've also been doing weather wars, it has caused a shift in the heat pattern on the water. So therefore, that affects the airflow pattern. And so some of the things that they're doing, they're accusing the sun. If you get the point. Yes, exactly. Now, and because they're competing with each other, things got out of kind of control a little bit. And what they did in California, because they want that gold, because there's some of our ancient gold that's there that they discovered. So they burnt paradise up because that's why they don't let people in there. They got private military there because they're digging for gold. Oh, I'm telling you the truth. And there's another mineral. I do apologize for not memorizing it because I remember a few days back when I was in REM, and I'll bring it to you later. Starts with a C. And it's a rare metal, a very rare metal that's used in military operations. And it's also found in Venezuela, too. It's another reason they're there. It's more powerful and more precious than gold. It starts with a C. Just remember what I told you. No, it's not. It's not even known by most people.
Right. It's not on the periodic table.
It gotta be on the drive. Those are the elements of Earth.
When I remember, I'm gonna call you. Right, so I'm gonna go back to REM. Maybe not now because I got other things on my mind. So a lot of things muddying right now. Most of you will not recognize this name when I say it. All right, but it's a C, and it's more precious than gold. Now, so it's Venezuela, also in areas of the North Gate, and so what they're trying to spend up their Federal Reserve notes, which are shortly going to be of no value. So this is why they did what they did in the Land of Flowers. So they're going to want to build hotels and resorts on that area where they made that artificial storm.
In the panhandle.
All of that's artificial. You know, and they don't want people to know that they actually murdered some of the people that stayed. Literally murdered them, for real. Same way they did in Katrina when they took that land. All right, same thing. And see, they've been continuing this because no one's been there to check them. Because the entire Congress is an oligarchy, private. They're part of it. That's why they won't. People keep thinking that they're separate from it. They themselves are part of it. Anyway, but I'm not going to hold you up on that. That's what that's about. And the 5G, the main thing you got to worry about is the weaponization, not its operation. However, the vibratory rate of the human is accelerating.
Absolutely.
And so you have some protection. However, if you stay in low vibration, you will become victim to it.
That's why we try to get people to realize about meditation and the importance of meditation and crystals. You know, we tend to stay away from that because we've been indoctrinated towards, you know, like
Can
you
we
say,
say a
praying.
quick fix for most people who don't understand, who don't learn meditation stuff? Take your shoes off, go in the yard, put
And
your
get
feet on the
grounded.
ground.
Yeah, grounded. Yeah, you can get grounded.
That's a shortcut.
Yeah.
You get rid of half the negativity anyway. Yep. And don't cut your hair. There are antennas.
Okay.
But go ahead.
I want to share, you know, as you were talking, you know, every now and then, normally I wait until you ask me to do this, but I really felt led to share a poem that I often share, but it does
Thank
speak
you.
to what you were just saying, and that's the one from my book called Did I Mention?
Oh, yeah.
Because Did I
Thank you.
Mention speaks, you know, for...
Well, why don't you do us a favor, come up here and go on camera, because we can't see you back there.
I don't like being seen.
Oh,
I'm not ready to make
Chloe's. Chloe's.
No, I'm just gonna read it from my, but I just think I think it's applicable.
It's always applicable.
This is what we were talking about. Yeah.
Would you like to sing?
Yes,
That'd be cool.
I'll need to down.
All right, okay.
I don't know my poems by heart except for a couple of big ones, but this one's
Yeah,
important.
because you wrote so
I
much.
wrote them, yeah. This was called Did I Mention? And when you hear it, you'll why I said it. It says, did I mention my ascension? You know what ascension means. Did I mention my ascension takes me out of your detention, or that my lower inhibitions have given way to precognition, or that I've opened up my eyes so that I see behind your lies, and it's not hard to recognize that you're the devil in disguise. So you've worked hard for centuries enslaving minds of folks like me, and it's your fear of this exposure that keeps you delaying full disclosure. How do you sleep at night knowing that your deeds have never been right? And regardless of your 1,000-year plan, soon you won't have a leg on which to stand. All around you, the indigenous are waking, and our birthright back we're taking. Yes, you really should be shaking. Can't you feel your matrix breaking? Excuse me, but did I mention that this is not about dissension? So please don't make this something that it's not. The time for righting what's been wrong is getting closer. Won't be long before my inheritance you stole, karma, will make you restore. And oh yes, did I mention I am more?
Right. Is it timely?
I got about 10 of my books left in the whole wide world.
Oh, yes.
I only have about 4 or 5 here, but I got like 10 or 15. I think I got 10 left at home, and I'm gonna save the one for is I almost have 5,000 so-called Facebook friends, and when whoever ends up being my 5,000th friend, I'm gonna probably send them, keep my little books for that. But I'm not, I'm doing a shameless promotion. They're almost gone, but I really felt that was apropos to what
It's on time.
you're saying. All around them, we're waking up.
That's right.
And we're taking, I have the privilege of speaking to so many of us that are waking up who call the House of Real Awakening Minds, and I realize that it's widespread. It's all over, from all walks of life, all different economic economic, levels and so forth. It's not just folks looking for remedy, it's just people looking for truth.
Yeah, right.
People just want to live and walk in the truth, and they realize that we've been duped long enough, and so we're coming to our senses. And so this particular poem was one I wrote in 2012. Remember, I stood up here around 2011 and 2012 when I was writing this book, and Grand Sheik would have me read it off of pieces of paper, and I said, it's going to be a book one day. And in 2013, in January, it became a book. So I didn't write it yesterday. And I've written many poems since then. It'll probably be book 2. But some things just seem timeless. Some things now, their time has come more so even than, when this was first published. And it's just that, it just feels good. And I know we're under a lot of, like you said, pressure. And we see so many duress. We see so many who are trying to do the right thing, being subjugated to all kinds of persecution and so forth. And we have to realize that is being done so that the rest of us will back up from this.
To intimidate.
They want to intimidate.
Get back in the fence.
Right. But we need to keep pushing forward. And I really, really, like Ranchi said, if you can't meditate and get yourself in a higher space, then at least take your shoes off and get yourself grounded to the energy of the earth. But if we raise our vibration, I'm an energy worker, I'm a Reiki practitioner, and get yourself some crystals, find out based on what your astrological sign is, what crystals work best with you.
Your salts.
Get the cell salt, know which salt you need, and just have the right crystals and the right vibration. See somebody like, Brother Isaiah in the back or Brother Hassan, who are astrologers. Get your chart, know who you are, know what you came back here to do.
Yeah.
And let's get to it. I think that's one of the biggest problems, Grand Sheik. A lot of time we're not clear about why our mother brought us back this time.
2 and 3 is 5. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you take your 2 and 3, and you take your 25 and go to chapter 25. And then look at your 12 development tools for getting your house in order in your Circle 7 Quran. And they will harmonize with your 12 decibels, or your 12 disciples, or your 12 gates, your 12 houses in the mansion, and will instruct you accordingly. Then what you simply do is go find out the salts, go find out the colors, and you'll know why in all your ancient mosques, churches, and synagogues, they always use colored glass and jewels, because they represent the energies of the planets, and they are healing, and they're also balancing. So just keep that in mind. So you use that. So masterminds trace themselves. If you're confused, go read the sun.
And you know what else I want to say to my Moorish sisters? We are the real Captain Marvel. That's why I have this t-shirt on. A lot of times we be looking at these so-called superheroes,
I think you're starting.
and they always look. No, I'm just telling the truth. You know what I mean? We're the real Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
That's why I have the shirt on.
It's marvelous.
Thank you.
Love her. Thank you, Dr. Nair. Most time I tease her and try to get her to come up here and do that. And I wish she would do that every week. And at the same time, some of the ones that you had that you didn't put in the book,
I know.
prepare us for the next book. Because most people that have a poetic mind, are usually just, advancing their psychic degrees anyway. And often don't recognize it. A lot of times she would say to me about, well, I don't understand this, and I want to prepare myself. I said, you already got it. You just ain't acknowledged it. Just be who you are. Be who you've been being. Just simply recognize that it's not a different platform. You just got another facet of their jewel that you've been wearing. Islam says, I do apologize because I just felt you was asking a question. All right.
I see somebody put a response there. They said 110. Venezuela has 110 billion in coltan deposits.
Say it again.
Coltan.
That's it.
Coltan.
That's it.
Coltan.
Now, how many of you
110 billion.
How many of you familiar with Coltan?
Never heard of it.
All right, the Europeans after that right now too. So that plays a lot of the politics that's going on today.
Is that still
Again, the energy that we project, particularly from the North Gate, because remember, everything is accelerated from this is why Rome does their stuff from the North Gate. You got to remember, all across the earth, you have what you call noble points. You know, and your ley lines have a lot to do with identifying them. And so when your ley lines cross, you will find pyramids or a mound, you know, and in order to control them, the Europeans will put military bases there or golf courses to keep people off of. You know, stuff like that, yeah. Or one of their so-called expensive 50-star hotels, not 5-star. You get the whole point. Go ahead.
And you know, we had a real long conversation with the brother today from Nevada territory.
Which we'll expand on.
Yes, but one of the things he said to me that was so interesting, he said that there are places on the planet that we don't even know exist, that Moors live in, and they don't even want those of us who don't know who we are to even know that they're there. So there are places, you know, and he's done a lot of research, you remember, and so forth, but he said there are literally places that we don't even know are on the planet anywhere that exist. Almost like the Wakanda type.
Well, what they've been talking about lately, because it's kind of been difficult to hide some things because people are starting to pay attention. Moving islands.
They made some movie about it.
No, moving islands. They'll see an island someplace that'll come up on Google and go back and it ain't there. And we're not talking about their blackouts.
Like they're.
If I may add to that,
Say it again.
if I may add to that, in the animated movie, the Aladdin, sorry,
Islam.
in the animated movie, what's Aladdin, there is a definition of the moving island in it, in which it was like a turtle gets submerged beneath the water and it comes up when certain light. You have to ask the oracle, where, and the oracle will point to you where the island is, and the island will submerge. Surface, and after retrieving the knowledge and after a period of time it will then recess back into the water. So they are symbolically telling these things in various different ways, and movies and so forth.
Let's take this a little further. Some that look like you and me but also have gills will be bringing information to share. I'll say that much. It's time. Yes. And that's the truth. So, and it only has to do more or less with people not being used to reality or living under the dynamics of the Roman education system and not being aware of certain things, and things seem like miracles to them. It's really not. It's just old technology. Really. It's just that we've been kept that dumb. You know, but so be it. They've had their fun. Now it's time for us not to get revenge, but just to come back into our own. You know, but we're gonna have to forgive ourselves and forgive some other things, but some things cannot be forgiven.
Thank you.
They must be balanced out. You know, so that's what that Moorish sword, that two-edged sword represents. Adul. Good to be on the handle side.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Because it's two-edged, it cuts both ways.
That's right. All praises due.
Yes. Anyway, thank you all for coming out to the house of Reawakening Minds. We could continue.
Oh, you want me to read?
How's that?
Islam. You come up here with you. Islam, the brother.
Islam was.
Islam, can you come up here? Like, up here?
So, we have a flyer here for Saturday the 13th of April. We will be going to the Library of Congress, and our host will be Rashid Tashin Bey. The time we'll be meeting will be at 2 p.m. and we want everyone to get there. I'm sorry, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We want to meet before 11, so preferably 15 minutes before. And also, we want to take care of Rashid as well. We know it's not about, getting your feet out, but we want to make sure he's compensated for his time and taken care of. We also are based out of Maryland, the Moorian tribe of Maryland, and we have our government we're trying to reestablish and build our republic back there. So the Moorian tribe has been helping and assisting Moors from Maryland, D.C., Virginia, all over. So we're looking for people that's honest, sincere, and genuine, and want to help us to restore our nation. And we need engineers, we need teachers, we need everything. So everybody who can help us and assist us come out and be a part of the tribe. We're looking for people that are skilled and that will help take on this mission. And this is just the beginning, to that step towards building our nation. We try to build a tight-knit kindred, and we come out and support. It'll be a time of fun. We've been working a lot, so this is the time we're going to be learning and exploring with the current sheet. All right?
Where we going?
To the Library of Congress.
Okay.
Where at?
Washington, D.C. The location will be 101 Independence Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. Zip 20540. And the phone number you can call is 202-594-9226. Okay, I'll repeat the location. 101 Independence Ave, Southeast Washington, D.C. Zip 20540. And the phone number again is 202-594-9226.
On what day?
Saturday the 13th at 11 a.m., but we know more, so before 11 a.m.
2020 private commercial business security.
And yes, again, that's for the honorarium to take care of our national issue. All right?
But y'all always surprising me, man. They be doing stuff. I thought I was just going to see something. I know I was going to be doing this stuff. But anyway, again, I want to remind you all, Tam, when they took us out the back.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get the story.
Oh, yeah. Julian tell you some of it?
No.
And they say, if it weren't for the Moors, we wouldn't have none of this. That's number one. They want to network, etc. And of course, with Abdullah Giltalib Mosey Bey's great work, and I'm also grateful for you for helping to do a lot of the editorials. It's taking many of them in short order on degrees that they didn't know existed, because their concepts in many areas were wrong. And as you already know, the Grand Master was the Grand Master of many lodges down there. So they took us in the back, and that's what they was talking about, including, they kind of put me on the spot when I came in there, which you kind of knew. You can't hide type thing, But the deal of it is, they were very happy and very kind of surprised that we was there, which you saw. But and some of the Puerto Rican brothers, started talking about the history and the experience down there. And of course, we already know they ain't Indians. And so we're clearing up a lot of that stuff. And we already know the story of Hiram Abiff is really about us getting struck in the head. But I just wanted to present that. But It's not really kind of surprising to me, but at the same time, a lot of our people don't have the experience of talking to people on different degrees, because most times they won't have these conversations with the people in the public, so they don't see things like that. There's always pocket information type stuff, because the deal of it is as people begin to find this out, a lot of institutions will just simply collapse because they have credibilities that don't belong to them. They're traded places, but the deal of it is to get these nobles themselves who don't know they're the nobles to step up and just simply be themselves, not arrogant, not boastful, but humbly just be yourself. That's what I'm documenting.
One last thing, I was looking, the brother we talked to today, and he posted something about the Negro Law of South Carolina. Negro Law of South Carolina. In Chapter 1, it says the status of the Negro, his rights and disabilities. Section 4, the term Negro is confined to slave Africans, parentheses, the ancient Berbers, close parentheses, and their descendants. It does not embrace the free inhabitants of Africa, such as the Egyptians, Moors, or the Negro Asiatics, such as the Lascars.
And this is why Drew Ali told the Moors, he says, go back to the state of mind of your ancient mother's fathers. He said, you're not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopians.
Here it is.
Even the Europeans tell them that, but they won't read. And their Negro leader guys are trained and paid not to tell them these things. That's why they don't read this stuff. And just like, for instance, so many of our people, claim to be spiritual. And will never tell the people that there's no J in Aramaic, while admitting that the one they call Jesus spoke Aramaic. And then they'll tell you talking about the history of Jesus when there was no Jesus. And the ones that they call Jesus, the personality, is Yahushua, And this whole game that they've been continuously playing against humanity is cruel and corrupt. But again, as the people begin to learn and wake up, in particular learn about the Nicene Council and everything else, they might go choke these club members. Who've been screwing them and stealing. Because, when you really think about it, this stuff is not really light. Look how many, let's be real. When you travel, right? Look how many of our children look for a job at McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, etc., and got educations that's supposed to get them some kind of decent job. Right? And then half of them, if they did any research, should have a piece of land in all of these different territories and have their own house that they should have inherited from their grandmother, that the municipal, state corporations have been stealing from them for taxes that don't even apply to them. And they're out struggling, trying to maintain a roof over their head under a fraud. And that fraud being perpetrated not just by Europeans, but by their own people that claim to be religious, who've been helping to screw them while getting kickbacks. Anyway, it's not good there. Every time I think about it, I get angry and angrier. Islam Wars, thank you for coming out to the House of Reawakening Minds, etc.
Thank you for coming out and tuning in to House of Reawakening Minds, where we are a holistic center for spiritual grounding, free thought, self-discovery, and more science, an awakening experience for all ages. We have upcoming on Friday, the 14th, our brother Abdullah Bey. He will come and teach from his upcoming book. It's the 12th? It's the 12th, I'm sorry. Friday, April the 12th.
Good job.
We have our brother Abdullah El Talib Mosey Bey. The author of Moors and Masonry, the Masonic Compass and Square. His new book, Etymology and Vocabulary, will be released on Thursday, as well as a host of other books that the Abdullah Bey is also publishing as well. Oh, also, please help in the recirculation of the Masonic Gate, the newspaper of which our brother Abdullah Bey is recirculating. You can help in providing a donation of any denomination to etymology vocabulary at gmail.com. That's through PayPal. Once again, I'd like to thank you for coming out and tuning in. Have a good evening. Islam.